Okay, we're gonna get started. We have some housekeeping to take care of first. Because we have an overflow room, the chatter in the back has to quit so that they can hear what is being said. Also, we're gonna do an AB 2449. There's a couple of people that are gonna be on Zoom. So, David?
It's Chris Pimentel who will be on.
Chris Pimentel?
Yes.
Is he there?
Chris?
Here.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Chris, you're good to go?
Thank you.
I think we need to ask him if there's anybody over eight, in the room with them over eight.
Oh. Chris, do you have anybody in the room with you that's 18?
I do not. I only have little less than 18s.
All right, little guys, that's fine. David, we good? Okay. All right. We do have a quorum,
Yes,
and it was posted.
yes.
Any announcements or any changes?
No changes to the agenda.
And do we have any comments from the public on items not on the agenda? Okay, hearing none, go to the consent calendar. Any items to be pulled? Motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Motion.
If you guys can say your names, I don't see it. Motion by.
Motion by Montero. Hawthorne.
Second by Uphaw.
I'm sorry for the.
No, I got it.
Never gonna know.
Okay, I'm gonna have to do a roll call. Carson? President. Osvaldo?
Yes.
Gardina?
Yes.
Hawthorne?
Yes.
Hermosa?
Hermosa Beach?
Yes.
Inglewood?
Yeah.
Mondale? Lamina? Yes. LA City?
Yes.
Manhattan Beach?
Yes.
Alfred State?
Yes.
RPD?
Yes.
Rolling Hills. Torrance? Yes. ST2?
Yes.
ST4? Okay, motion passed. Thank you. Are we done? Yes. Here we go. Motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to presentation. Jackie?
Okay, David, do you want to introduce this presentation?
Sure. As many of you know, Caltrans is working on a major project for the Vincent Thomas Bridge. They are proposing a deck replacement project, and we have Rima and some others from the Caltrans team here to give you an update on that project tonight.
Great, thank you. Good evening, and thank you for having us at your meeting. My name is Rima Tevileva, and I'm Caltrans Project Manager for the Vincent Bridge Deck Replacement Project. I have our project team tonight with me to.
They're doing a deck replacement project.
Do you know,
Is that another electronic device, David?
If everybody can mute that's not speaking right now, that would be great.
Presentation or comment?
They said there's
Excuse me, should I continue?
Yeah, I think you're good now, Rima. Thank you.
All right, okay. Next slide, please.
such a good thing.
The project is located on State Route 47 in Los Angeles. The bridge provides a critical connection from the community of San Pedro to Terminal.
Fernando Valenzuela, that was.
The Vincent Thomas Bridge has a total length of 6,062 feet and is the main gateway to the Port of Los Angeles. It carries an average of 58,000 vehicles daily, of which 9% is a truck traffic. The bridge includes the cable suspension middle span and the east and west approach concrete spans. Next slide. The purpose of the project is to preserve the bridge structural integrity and improve the overall safety of the facility for the traveling public and maintenance workers. The project need. The bridge deck was built in 1963 and has been in service for 60+ years. Although the bridge is structurally sound, the bridge deck is rapidly deteriorating. This is due to concrete fatigue caused by heavy traffic loading, as well as environmental deterioration due to age and the marine environment that bridge was exposed to throughout the past several decades. In addition, the existing bridge railings and median concrete barrier do not meet the requirements of the new manual for assessing safety hardware, MASH. Next slide, please. When we started the project, two alternatives have been identified, build and no build alternative. No build alternative did not preserve the life of the bridge and was not chosen. The build alternative would replace the entire bridge deck, replace the seismic sensors, replace median barriers, fences, and rails. Several construction staging options were included under build alternative. The construction staging options included the full bridge closure, the partial and night bridge closures, and durations range between 16 to 48 months. Next slide, please. Project schedule. We began the phase of project approval and environmental document in February of 2023, and we'll be completing this phase this fall. The final environmental document and the project report will be approved in this phase. Actually, the final environmental document was certified today, and the project report is pending our district director's signature, and we expect it to be approved within a couple of days. The design phase will begin immediately after P&ED completion. Design phase, or we call it PSNA, plan specifications and estimates, will be completed in summer of 2025. And we plan to begin construction in late 2025, and our target is to open bridge back to traffic in spring of 2027. Now I pass it on to Jason Roach, the Senior Environmental Scientist, to continue with this presentation.
Prima. So yeah, we're going to be talking about what construction staging option we chose and where we are with the environmental process. Can I have the next slide, please? So we've come a long way in a short period of time. We've put together an EIR in about 1.5 years, and the document is signed and certified and is ready to be released. We're just waiting for the project report to be signed. That's what actually formally approves it, and it's on our district director's desk, and we expect a signature any day now. So in the next week or so, you should expect to all be receiving notices on how to access the document. And the main thing that the document is going to be telling the public is what exactly are we doing and how did we respond to all of the comments we got. We got about 267 comment letters from a variety of people, and all of the responses are in there and they've been vetted, and it is approved. So we're almost in fall of 2024, and we have selected the full closure as the preferred construction staging option. Can I have the next slide, please? And this is what it is. It's the single stage construction that's going to be fully closed, and we're going with the precast concrete bridge deck, which is the fastest way to get this bridge deck replaced. And by fast, that's still 16 months. So that is still, it's the shortest construction option that we have, but it's obviously a lengthy closure. And so I think I've got all of our detour routes are still being formulated. We have a lot of challenges with all of our detour routes, but I think on the next couple of slides, we'll be talking about what the detour routes are. I think the next slide is for you, Ken.
Thank you, Jason. Ken Young, Office Chief District Traffic Manager. Thank you. As Jason indicated, the detours are being formulated. We will be having a task force starting next in December, whereby all participants, including the parties here, are welcome to engage and provide feedback related to the detour. So what I'm going to show in the next couple of slides is an overview or a snapshot during various phases of this project. During the environmental document stage, we identified preliminary detours relative to ingress and egress to and from Terminal Island. The general philosophy is to encourage motorists to stay on the freeways, so a direct connection is certainly encouraged. So to that end, traveling on the southbound 710 and continuing south, you could reach Terminal Island directly. Should conditions indicate that that's not a plausible scenario on any given day or week, then there is an outlet at PCH. So motorists coming southbound on the 710, for example, could exit at PCH, head westbound to 103 to North 47 to access Terminal Island. From the 110, there is no direct connection because we'll be full closure. Therefore, alternative signed detour routes are Harry Bridges Boulevard, PCH, and Sepulveda Boulevard. As conveyed, and then so these were presented in the environmental document phase. Feedback was provided to us in conjunction with commentary from the public hearings, and what we heard very clearly were concern regarding impacts to communities such as Wilmington, impacts to businesses, neighborhoods, schools, etc. Next slide, please. So in consideration of those concerns and to minimize the impacts that we felt were specifically within the corridor of Pacific Coast Highway, and in consideration of some ongoing projects within the city of Carson, of which Sepulveda Boulevard was helpful in terms, was identified as that detour. We had the current proposal, or not the current proposal, but again, it's still evolving, but a consideration is to use Harry Bridges as that signed detour coming from the 110 and heading east to transitioning to Alameda Street, to Anaheim, to Henry Ford Avenue, and to 47 North to access Terminal Island. And from 710 is the same detour from PCH. So what has been eliminated to minimize the impacts is the portion of PCH from the 110 to the 103 and Sepulveda Boulevard from 110 to 103. There will be, especially at the beginning, there may be residual motorists that miss the detours. So we will have a hard closure at Harbor Boulevard, and that traffic will ultimately be redirected to Harry Bridges Boulevard and then to 47 North to Terminal Island. Next slide. This slide represents a preliminary motorist information strategy. I think one of the biggest strategies that we employ at Caltrans is a public awareness campaign. So we use a combination of media, radio, social media, and everything to get the word out well in advance that there will be a closure, and for motorists to plan ahead to, in this case, reach Terminal Island. So what this map represents, it's showing our changeable measure signs, which are those fixed structures that provide images such as what you see on the right. And this is a very robust and expansive campaign in terms of, as you can see, we're expanding all the way. If we take the 405 example, we're expanding all the way to the 101. The same applies to the 110. And on the 710 and the 605, our messages will expand all the way to the 10. And let me backtrack a little bit. In terms of the triangle, what the triangles, so the changeable measure signs are represented with the squares and the numbers, and the portable changeable measure signs supplement those, and they're represented with the triangles. So what we're trying to do is lay them out at freeway to freeway interchanges where there's decision points. So motorists well in advance have the ability to make a decision to, we're basically empowering motorists to use alternate routes of their own choosing to best get to where they need to, in this case, Terminal Island. And the hope is, or the target is, if we take this approach and it's successful, that we could create a diversion or distribution of traffic that equates to reducing the normal traffic that would go on the Vincent Thomas Bridge by about 50%. And we are doing similar things on the 605 with regards to a pavement rehab project. So we think that's a reasonable target to get that, try to achieve that diversion. And then with the remaining 50% or so, then that would use like 110, for example, then the challenge would be to basically redirect them onto the signed detour. Some of that traffic will be familiar with the area in terms of the neighborhoods, businesses, and schools that we noted. Those that would be the beneficiaries of the detour would be those that are not familiar with the area. So I think that, and then to the right, we have sample messages that they're not all encompassing, but we will use strategies to encourage trucks to use, for example, Harry Bridges Boulevard versus PCH. We will, in terms of air quality, use strategies to place portable changeable dimensional signs on the local roads to discourage idling of trucks, because with understanding that we're listening to the potential impacts to the communities, and we want to make the routes, or the detours in this case, as reliable and as least impactful as possible from an air quality standpoint. I think that's all I have at this point.
All right. Next up is me. My name is Eric Manivat. I'm the Media Relations Manager here at District 7. And we're going to be in charge of the project outreach, which we've already been doing since the scoping period and during this environmental process, and getting the community involved to provide their comment on this environmental document. So here are some of the estimated timelines for our outreach goals. You've just heard from Rima that and from our environmental planner that the EIR is about to be released very soon. So we will be sending out a news release to inform the media and the community about that. In tandem with that, we do have a newsletter that we've already began this month. We've already sent our first one. We have a sign up button that will be placed on our website for this project. So you can sign up for that newsletter. And also add us as a safe sender for that newsletter. We also have a dedicated project email already, which is vtbproject@dot.ca.gov. And you will see that at the end of at the last slide. Those two, the website and the dedicated email inbox account. So as Ken mentioned, we are creating this traffic management plan task force, the TMP task force. We want to start that up in early December, get the community involved and our partner agencies to help develop that task force, and help develop the TMP plan through the task force. We want to start that up as soon as possible. We also plan to be going out to along with the project team, to stakeholder groups and meeting with our stakeholder groups on our to discuss the selected alternative. That's what we're doing here today. We'll be doing that through spring. We will also be doing outreach at events and community fairs. So if you have any events that are coming up in your cities that are impacted and you want us to go out there and reach out to the community, please, we welcome your input and your suggestions on where to go out to. We will have community open houses prior to construction to inform the community about the impacts that they will receive, and also to keep them updated on the recent happenings with the project. And we will start them in the summer and go into the fall prior to construction. And then, 2 months prior to the closure date, we'll start advertisements about the full closure on the VTB. So we will use social media, digital advertising, print, radio, through paid media. And then about 1 to 2 months before the closure date, we will have a press conference to announce that and inform the media about that, so we can get the word out, and just make sure that, like Ken mentioned, we want to divert traffic away from the area. So this will be a really aggressive outreach and media plan for this project. The other items I just wanted to mention quickly were that we will have 2 dedicated PIOs to this project. We will have one that is Spanish speaking as well, so that will help out the Latino community. We will also be sending notifications to residents and business throughout the project via newsletters, mailers, email outreach, and flyer distribution. And also we will be posting on our social media as well, announcing all the recent happenings on this project. And then besides that, we're still going to continue our community advisory and technical advisory committee meetings, which meet on a monthly basis. And that goes along with our TMP task force that we will be starting up in December. So that's all I have for you for now. And kick it off to the next slide. Thank you. Oh, sorry. And these are some of the community groups and agencies we've already been reaching out to throughout this process. And we're going to continue to reach out to all these stakeholder groups as well. And this is not all of the stakeholder groups that we've captured on here. There's more on here, but that's just a running list that we have. Thank you. Next slide.
Is that good?
Thank you. I think we completed our presentation. We ready.
Thank you very much. We have time for just a couple of quick questions.
Okay. Hey, thanks very much. This is Tim McCosker, councilman of the 1-5, and the bridge begins and ends in my district, and one of those letters that you responded to is pretty comprehensive for me. I want to know what is going to be the distribution of the FEIR and the period of time between distributing the FEIR and the proposed certification.
Yeah, I can answer that. So the document is certified. We sent out all of the responses, the comments that were made by agencies on October 1st. The document is certified. Under CEQA, we're supposed to give agencies 10 days before we can certify the document. It was actually signed today. So once the project report is signed, the project report is what actually approves what we're going to do. And we're not going to be releasing any supporting document because that's what the FEIR
is. But as a writer of probably one of the most extensive letters you got, dropping it in the mail to the planning department of the city of LA or wherever it is sitting in somebody's box, I did not see that letter. So tell me, today you're telling me this is a day to begin the environmental challenge in court? I have not seen a single mitigation.
No. I see what you're getting at.
Hey, I'm finishing. Let me finish my question. I just heard that the 3 paltry detour routes remain the detour routes, and I didn't hear any mention of the fact that we're doing a $90 million renovation of Alameda, and you're sending a bunch of trucks to Alameda corridor, or to the Alameda Street. So I need to see it, and I could not be more disappointed.
Gotcha. I think I understand what you're saying. The notice of determination will not be signed until the project report is signed. Under CEQA, we have 5 days to send out the notice of determination to the state clearinghouse. So that's still pending. So we still have that. We have to wait for the project to actually be approved to do the notice of determination. So that's coming up hopefully in the next week or so. I'm not really sure.
The beginnings of this outreach were so bad, were so terrible, and you heard from a bunch of public officials, and community members about how terrible it was. And this failure seems even greater, and it seems very disrespectful.
I'm not sure what failure you're referring to.
I have been in constant communication with Caltrans. I would like to have known a little bit about what was coming out in the FDIR. I'm gonna find out now, but you put us in a position where you're basically saying take it or leave it, and they leave it means a challenge.
And maybe I want to respond to that. We announced our decision with our preferred alternative in September, a technical advisory and community advisory, and Tim, your representative, attends both meetings. So I don't know why you were not updated on that.
I know, and here's what, I'm gonna finish with this. I know what you just said. You're pushing all of the traffic through Wilmington, and I am, you heard from folks, I'm bitterly disappointed in this presentation, but why don't we move on? Because unfortunately, now we just have to follow the statutory procedure and not act like we're sister agencies working with each other. So thank you.
Okay, and you guys can talk offline on that. Just for those that are standing in the back, there is an overflow room next door that you can do this meeting. And we're gonna move on. Oh, we have to, David, I think Carson's online.
Yes, Cedric's online, and we need to do another AB 24.
Okay, so we need to do another AB 2449. Cedric, you there?
Yeah, Rodney, I'm here.
Okay.
I was here earlier, but I guess we already started the presentation, so no one knew I was already here.
Okay.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any opposed? David, you okay?
Yeah, I gotta do a roll call.
Okay.
El Spendo,
Yes.
Martina,
Yes.
Hawthorne,
Yes.
Mendoza,
Yes.
Inglewood,
Yes.
Lawndale, Vida,
Yes.
LA City, Manhattan Beach,
Yes.
TV Estates,
Yes.
RTB,
Yes.
Redondo Beach, yes. Rolling Hills,
Yes.
Rolling Hills Estates,
Yes.
Torrance,
Yes.
SD2,
Yes.
SD4. LA City,
Yes.
Used to be me.
SD4.
Yeah.
That's your people. My neighbor's talking to me.
Very nice. Okay, good, David?
Yeah, we're good.
And I don't think he has anybody over 18 with you in the room.
Cedric.
Cedric?
No, nobody.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna move on.
Okay.
Jackie?
Yes, our next presentation is Bernadette. Our next presentation has to do, we can tell you about our ladder grant, which is on digital equity that we have been working on for the last year. Wally, Sibeth, and Jake Romoff, who've been working on this grant, are going to tell you about what they've learned and where we want to go. And it's not going to be a long presentation, but I think you're going to find it interesting. So,
Do I use a microphone or not?
oh, here's the microphone.
Thank you. Well, it's strange. I'm both here and not here.
And turn it on.
Closer to your face. Yep, closer to your.
Have me here? Wow. Well, there's such a big crowd tonight. Jackie, I think you should schedule our digital strategy more often and obviously bring folks down. And it's really unusual, but I'm asking you. It's terrific. Oh, Jackie, you got a thing? Okay, so Jackie's right. We're going to talk about our digital strategy. We're going to talk about exclusion, inclusion, and let's go to the next slide. So I thought we would do like a 25-second review of technology. We're a tool using society, and I found this, and I think it's very instructive. Go ahead.
Watch closely. And there you have it. Once you start down that walk, it just never ends. And so now we have autonomous technology. That's how it works. Can we turn off these lights? It's washing out the screen. It's over there. Just go wash out the screen. Okay, so we're in the midst of a digital transition. Why? Go ahead, Jim. So what we know is that if you're going to be successful economically, you really have to either invent tools, own them, have access to them, and surely have the skills. So this is a fundamental aspect of where we're going. Go ahead. Now, most folks don't realize, but the digital transition, digital tools have been a matter of federal public policy for a number of years, 50, 75 years, through research and development that was funded, through direct investment in years in the digitization of the federal government, liberalizing the regulatory regime, the breaking up of the about having innovation and digital innovation. So this is not a joke. It's been happening for a very long time. Oh, and bipartisan too. It's not Republican or Democrat. Everybody does it. Go ahead, Jim. But we're approaching 100% dependence now on the successful digital transition. Next one. Well, COVID exposed that there were some shortcomings in this transition. There were multiple points of failure during the COVID shutdown. Infrastructure got a lot of attention, but there were institutional practices as well, institutional breakdowns. For the most part, our institutions weren't prepared overnight to become virtual and not in person. Consumer access and skills, of course, were part of the equation. So what we have to do going forward is ensure that there's universal access to high-speed broadband internet. We have to have a very competent use of digital tools.
That shirt pulled out of the dirty clothes.
There's a ghost in the machine. That's what it sounds like. Oh. And we have to develop a digital strategy. Now is the time to future-proof the South Bay. That's my bottom line on this. Go ahead. So we've had a digital strategy for since 2017, and this is an origin story. I think I'll be interested in seeing the origin. Jackie and I and Jan Vogel from the WIB had lunch at the Homeless House in 2017. I think it's still there. And we were talking digital stuff generally, and Jan said he had some money left. And so he said, well, look, why don't I get you a feasibility study of some sort? So we said, oh, well, that's a good thing. So we did. And we did this study, and we found out that cities where the legacy characters were killing us. They were giving us too little and charging us too much. Go ahead. So this led to an RFP where we formed a joint powers authority with American Dark Fiber, and we developed the South Bay Fiber Network in a public-private partnership. There is about 115 miles. Most of it is leased, but we got $6.5 million from our Measure M fund to help reduce the cost to our cities. And if we standardize on a 1 gig per second service, we've saved this investment of $6.5 million, and our public-private partnership saved the cities about $600,000 a year. And that's not even counting the other folks like the Big Cities Health District and the WIB itself. There's like 6, I think, different offices connected to it. So this is the start of our strategy, and it's on the ground, and we're going to, the next meeting about this is going to actually talk about that. Go ahead, Jake. So we got this LADA grant that Jackie referred to. That's a CPUC grant. And we did a review of the marketplace again through this grant. And what we found out is if you weren't a city customer, you were just a CBO or a resident or a small business, that the situation hasn't changed. You're getting too little and you're paying too much. And just to be sure we're clear that there are many home-based businesses in the residential areas. The second finding of it was there were significant infrastructure gaps. Not everyone can even subscribe to high-speed broadband. And they were the worst in disadvantaged neighborhoods. Go ahead, Jim. So in the grant, the things that we had to do was develop a plan that would foster digital inclusion. We have to close the network gaps because there were a bunch of them. Develop public access to the internet. And the program forced us to look at 6 covered populations, 8 actually, but there were 6 that we have in South Bay: veterans, disabled, non-white, non-proficient English, seniors, and poor. And we did some demographic analysis, and those 6 populations are focused in 5 cities, which is what became our target cities as we went forward. Jake, go ahead. So here's this is the target communities on the left, and if we added up everybody from those 5 target cities, we found out that almost half, or around half, of 4 of them do not have access, that they're underserved. And the other 2 are at a quarter. This is significant because one of the observations is that the job opportunities are no longer really in the newspaper, but they're on things like Monster and LinkedIn and places like that. So here, automatically, these covered populations cannot get to job opportunities because they do not have access. Go ahead, Jake. So here's a map of the South Bay that shows the red is areas of where there are gaps, where there is not really any high-speed internet access available. Go ahead. And here's the 5 cities, and this is premises data, so this is more fine. That other stuff with block data, but this is at the premises level. Here's 3 of our cities, and you can see there's just substantial gaps in these target cities. One more. Go ahead, Jay.
Did you want to say that Carson, Gardena, and Lawndale, and then this is Inglewood and San Pedro?
Yeah, I would say that, but I can't see that far.
Oh, okay.
I had faith that they were up there, though, and I have signed it. Go ahead. So here's our study. So we had Arcadis did this network design, and this is what they came up with to close these gaps in these cities. It's a tune of about $180 million in just those 5 cities to close those gaps. However, that is to say, this is not a public sector burden. This would be mostly raised from the capital markets. But in general, it would be good, just as we got $6.5 million for our little homely 150-mile network. It would be good to get, and there are many sources for public funding to help out, maybe 10% of this. Go ahead. Now, this is a little more complicated than I wanted it, but it's like this. Cities, as well as many different organizations, have online portals, which if you want the services, you have to be able to go online and do it. Now, the conundrum is, if you're a local government or a CBO or any kind of other anchor school system, you have to be using these technologies, just as I said, you have in the beginning. You have to be using them or you're not going to be productive enough to actually stay in business. And I think it's the financial crisis that cities are facing is forcing them into this stuff, including AI, which we'll talk about another time, I think. Anyway, the 2 columns on the left are the bill payments and kind of the 2 portals that are online. And you can see our 5 target cities all have that. But over on the right-hand side, the other 5 columns, we don't do a whole lot to help folks get online, even though we require them to do it in order to get these other kinds of services. So that is sort of the problem that we sit there. We want to go to having more portals, but we need to help folks be able to access those portals. Go ahead, Jim. So we invented this ladder that characterizes the public access situation. So we see online portals are down at the bottom, and there are many training and access to resources online through Everyone On. And anyway, there's a bunch. The County of Los Angeles has a nice online program. But then if we go up the ladder, we can find that there's a basic internet access facilities. That's like if you have Wi-Fi around any one of your parks or any of your public buildings. That's just basic access. Someone can come with their cell phone or their computer and jump on the Wi-Fi. And there's also some of us have computers, but no training or anything like that. So the third level is where we we have all of that, connectivity, high-speed connectivity, devices, and training. And so that's sort of level 3 is where we really aspire to and want to go for. And then level 4 doesn't exist here, but it's easy to see. 4A is a production center, so that's high-end stuff. And the question really becomes, if you start working with disadvantaged communities and not just teaching them basic computer skills, but if you put them in a place that was a professional office with high-speed everything, best computers and 3D printing and that kind of thing. In other words, that's the money train right there. Let's get them into a production place. The second is an access center. By that I mean not only access to the internet, but access to services like anything that Spanish language or English as a second language or GED or that kind of thing. And some of our CBOs, I know, they have their constituents want to get a GED certificate. But we can do that virtually by just bringing in those services over the internet. And I actually, in the mid-90s in Compton, did proof of concept of that kind of facility for the facility. And then 4C is a resilience center, which is really where we want to go. I'll talk about that a little bit at the end, which is overlaying the digital component, a mobility component, a always-on electricity component through a microgrid, as well as all the resilient stuff like cooling and things like that. So we're hoping to get funding for that. That's where we want to go. Okay, go ahead, Jake. So the cost of that sort of thing is, I'm guessing, 300 to 500,000 for level 2, a little more expensive for level 3, and level 4 is a big deal, which is going to take a lot of technology and a lot of staff, so that's more expensive. But all of that together is about, if you add it to the closing the gaps of the fiber network, it's around $200 million or something like that, maybe a little bit more. And so if we could get from a grant program or something, 10% of that, we could bring all of these benefits actually to the residents and the small businesses. Go ahead, Jake. Oh, we've already applied for the NTA. We're in for about $1.5 million. We don't know if we're going to get it for it. Now, I showed this at the steering committee, and I'm showing it as I hope, a lesson. Back in the mid-90s, LA Metro asked me to develop a strategy for them to use their rights of way for fiber. And so I came up with this idea and tested it out of having 1,000 fiber end-to-end throughout the entire metro system, and 50 nodes. Very much like I'm talking about level 3 or level 4 nodes or something like that. And also extending that out into civic centers all through the county. That at the time, well, in constant dollars today, would be maybe $500 million. Now, I would point out that this was in the context of there being a big construction program. And I can't really figure it out because constant dollars are hard to go, but it was somewhere between 50 billion, 75 billion that they were investing in the construction program. And I'm not saying that shouldn't have happened, but I'm saying once you spend 75 billion, what's another 500 million? And pointing out that during COVID, very few people used the rail system that was $75 billion, and we didn't have the $500 million fiber network, which would have changed the whole recovery from it, because that's what people needed was fiber access. So there's the kind of trade-offs that we have to look at going forward. Go on. So here's our vision of the South Bay. This is the last slide. And you see up there that there's a local travel network. The local travel network shown, the fiber network, the South Bay fiber network, where they intersect. We're talking about having level 3 access points, and then boy, that's hard to see. The houses are where we're talking about the level 4 resilience centers. This is the vision. So it's what happens when you overlay land use with digital capabilities, digital network with mobility and the electric grid. And this is what you can do. And the whole point of it is that anybody can walk, cycle, or take a golf cart and get to any of those access points that are embedded already in commercial areas. So that we're talking about a place that's very heavy with destinations, easy to get to through a zero emission modality. And all of that is around $200 million, easily affordable with the bucks we're talking about. So that's it. Happy to take any questions. And if there's anyone in the overflow room, this is really exciting, this overflow. This would be the time. Anybody?
Any quick questions?
Oh, no. Well, I have a few I could ask myself.
Thank you, Wally.
Thanks. Good, Jackie, move on.
Okay, give it a microphone. Our next presentation, if you remember, every quarter we do a presentation on how our cities are doing on energy efficiency for the recognition that we're going to be having on December 4th for all cities that are doing the work on climate change and energy. And Talia Curlis is here to present that.
Great. Thank you, Jackie. Good evening, everyone. David, you can go ahead to the next slide. But before I get started, I do want to give a special shout out to 3 cities who just recently reached goal, which is Carson and Sedgwick. We have a little something for you. You can grab the next time you're at our office, maybe. And we have the city of Rolling Hills Estates and the city of Torrance.
And those are for you to take and share with
Nice.
And just a little reminder for how our points work. 15 or 4 points is gold, 9 to 14 is silver, and then 3 to 8 is bronze. Go ahead to the next slide, David. So here is a summary of where all of our cities are. These have all been updated as of today. So you can take a second to find your city. And it'll mention on the next slide, but there to earn recognition, you do have to complete an activity in all 3 categories. And there's still more time to earn points. So we're working as hard as we can to make sure that the last 2 cities do get recognized. And just I wanted to let you all know kind of how we're tracking the points is we do have energy champions that were identified at each city who report out to us quarterly and give us updates. And then our energy efficiency team also does some internet sleuthing to see what we can find that your city is doing through the news. So feel free to just send me anything you think might fit, and we'll be happy to see if we can get you a point there. And then David, if you go to the next slide. So like I said, to earn recognition, you do have to earn a point in each category, which is climate action, education, networking, and technical assistance. And then on the next slide are just some example activities of how you can earn some more points. So the first one being to participate in a SBCCOG sustainability activity. So confirming that you'll be able to participate like in a local travel network or the Green Business Network. You can participate in one of our energy programs. One that we're really working on promoting right now is energy efficiency for multifamily properties. So if you have the contact for a multifamily property owner and send that over, that's one way to earn a point. And then as always, cities can earn points by setting up a facility equipment inventory site visit. This is actually how Rolling Hills Estates was able to get gold just today, completed a site visit at their park. We're very efficient. We did it in under an hour. So feel free to reach out if you have any buildings that you want us to come check out. We can go ahead to the next slide. As Jackie mentioned, we are having our 2nd annual ceremony to recognize all of our cities on December 4th at the Gardena Community Center. It'll be from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and our keynote speaker will be Robert Fortunato. And then on the next slide is a QR code if anybody wants to sign up now. But everyone from the city is invited, and we're looking forward to seeing all of you there. I don't know if you want to leave it up.
Voting for yourself.
Okay, Jackie, let's go to.
Okay. Next is you. The next is Kim with the South Environmental Services.
Environmental Services.
So I only have a couple of updates to Talia's presentation, and that is we had quite a few cities taking advantage of our heat pump water heater replacement. That included full coverage of costs for the equipment and the installation. Actually, the city of Inglewood just finished theirs, and they got over $160,000 of free services and equipment. We have the city of Carson that also is participating. So if you have heat pump water heaters, if you have heat pump water heaters that if you have water heaters that you would like to switch out to heat pump to save energy, that would be great. We can help you with that. One other thing is we had talked a few months back about the state budget and the governor looking at our energy efficiency funds that come to public agencies. And that effort is not a problem anymore. They recognize that the work that we're doing with energy efficiency is very helpful to our public agencies. And so what they really want to do is just look more closely at how we're evaluating those programs. So it really gives us an opportunity to shine and show them all the things that we can do. So I just wanted to share that with you. So that's all I have.
Thank you. And next will be Ronson. You want to talk about homeless services?
Thanks, everyone. Watson Chu, Senior Project Manager at Homeless Services and Senior Services at the COG. Colleen will be passing out an article of today's Easy Reader. Some exciting news coming out of Redondo Beach. Yeah. Well, we'll get to that, Supervisor Hahn. But lots of good news coming out of Redondo Beach. But first thing, Project Home Key opened up in Redondo Beach last week. We had a grand opening celebration. It's a fabulous spot. I think maybe next year with the new council members and existing council members, we should definitely do a tour of the location. I know it's a little bit small on the printouts, but you just got an Easy Reader, you can check it out. Lots of great stories, really educational on what permanent supportive housing is, which is Project Home Key. And I think this is definitely a great asset in our beach cities to have this there. So that's the first update. The second update is the steering committee approved this letter that was drafted by the Gateway Cities Council of Governments, and we've signed on to it. But it's telling the executive committee for Regional Homelessness Alignment, which is made up of two supervisors, Captain Barger and Horvath, and also Mayor Karen Bass, Vicky Rahman, and a few other electeds to oversee the homeless response system. And in this letter, what we're asking for is better data in addition to the pit count, more data coordination. We're also asking for a reform of the coordinated entry system. Many of our cities have access centers and shelters that are not connected into the entry system and are not getting funding through the system. And so we would like to change that. And also, just in general, if and when Measure A does pass, we want to make sure we get our fair share of the dollars. So that's a letter that we're signing on to and presenting to the executive committee. The third update is on Monday. This is open to the public. It's a Brown Act meeting. But Karen Bass will be in Redondo Beach again at the main library, and we're going to talk about climate resiliency, something that Wally shared, and we'll be having further discussions with Supervisor Barger and Council Member Rahman about climate resiliency in the South Bay and how we can have more climate resiliency centers in the South Bay.
Supervisor Barger and LA Councilwoman Rahman are going to all of the Council of Governments. I think this is the first one Mayor Bass will be attending. And we just found out a couple of days ago that she'll be here as well.
Right.
We hope you'll sign up. So we have it's virtual, but it'd be great to have people in the audience.
Yeah, and it should be in your inboxes, the invitation. If not, just let me know and we'll send one out to you. So that's on Monday at 10 a.m. at the Redondo Beach Main Library. And not to be confused, but we're also doing something at the question.
It's maybe a stupid question, but what is a climate resiliency center?
That's a really good question.
Come on Monday.
Yeah, Jackie will educate everyone. And we're actually one of the few COGs that they present to where we actually have defined that. And it's going to be a great presentation, but it involves more than just, like a shelter. We're talking about a mobility hub where, people can access. We're talking about a communications hub, digital hub, like Wally talked about. So it's all that combined into a neighborhood center. So it's something we feel that every community should have, especially with the recent heat waves, the tropical storm, and just the inclement weather that we can have. Not to mention earthquakes too. So then another thing happening, and not to be confused with the main library, but this is going to happen at the Redondo Beach Historical Library on Wednesday. Supervisor Holly Mitchell and Assembly Member Almer Suchi will be hosting the Functional Zero event in Redondo Beach. And Supervisor Hahn has been very instrumental in the inception of that process with her help getting the pellet shelters opened up. And so
Senator Ben Allen will be there too.
right, yeah, he's been a late addition. So we're excited about that. We're expecting a packed house. And so this is a private event. And so the board members should all have an invitation to this event as well. And so that's on Wednesday at 9 a.m. And afterwards, we'll have a pellet shelter tour for anyone interested. And that should be happening around 11:30. And that's all the updates.
Senior services?
Senior services, we're still working on the agenda. The next meeting will be November 28th. And so we'll get the agenda out as soon as we're finalizing it.
The General Assembly update is last time we talked about possibly charging this year. And what the steering committee decided was the charge would be $15 for lunch, not for the General Assembly, but for lunch. And then if you respond after March 12th, I think it is, it goes up to $20, because we really don't want late responses. And so we're hoping that that will make a difference. We got our very first sponsor, the CCA, Clean Power Alliance, right? That's right. Yeah, I said the wrong initials. The Clean Power Alliance is sponsoring our General Assembly, and we're just starting now to look for sponsors. So I hope if you have any ideas for the sponsors. The theme of our General Assembly is a 30-year birthday for the cause. We're going to talk about our accomplishments and about the future and where we're going in the next 30 years. So any thoughts you have on program, that's our next step, is developing the program. Jake, do you have a report on the local travel network? I can't see you.
Since our last board meeting, Ann and I attended the PVP USD Principals and Presidents Luncheon, where we talked about e-bike safety in the peninsula. We have been invited to participate in a webinar for the PTA staff for that school district. It seems that efforts are moving forward to try and implement some sort of e-bike safety program at the school level across the entire school district. Additionally, we applied for a SS4A grant, which would give us funding to help create a template for further schools to implement e-bike safety programs, as well as create a regional micromobility safety action plan, which would study high incident streets across the South Bay, as well as best practices, and be able to host e-bike and micromobility safety showcases, where we could bring in all the stakeholders from police departments to the vendors to the safety programs that are growing within the South Bay to educate the community, from students to even those who don't drive micromobility, but how to engage and share the road with micromobility users. And I think that's all we have to say.
So you heard about the South Bay Fiber Network. We're going to have the next meeting. We're going to be talking to you about expansion and changes and opportunities that we're going to be having in the future with the South Bay Fiber Network. So I won't spoil next meeting. And I do not have anything else. So I think we're a little bit early for the transportation report. What, do you have something else?
I forgot to mention, for the Functional Zero meeting, we're also going to announce the next batch of cities in Functional Zero program, which will include Manhattan Beach, Torrance, and Hermosa Beach. So we're going to do that as well.
Thank you. Okay. And you can come to learn what the definition of functional zero is, and on Wednesday, and what it is on Climate Resilience Centers on Monday. Okay.
Transportation, you or Chris?
Well, I was going to give a staff report on I think the only thing that everybody's waiting for.
Okay.
Okay. So today we sent out a modified or a supplemental staff report, and I just thought, I don't know how many people got a chance to see it, and I would go through it, and so I will just summarize what you have. I don't know, you have it in front of you on your table. If you haven't seen it, it came out this afternoon. So it reiterates the request. The request from the city of Inglewood, the total request for this, the last contribution in this is $851.1 million. That's made up of $358 million, which we have already allocated and approved, and that's $250 million from Measure Our Transit and $108 million from the Subregional Equity Program. The current request that is before us this evening is $385.1 million towards the base budget and $108 million towards the backstop for an additional $493.1 million, and that would be for Measure M MSP. The total project cost of the ITC at this point is $2.4059 billion. And this is really, I like this because I hate rounding off billions. It just seems wrong. So it's and the actual budget
is 2.1889 billion, which is the base budget, and 216 million, which is the backstop budget. I think you're all familiar with what the backstop is. It's a contingency that's required by the FTA, sort of on top of the regular contingency. The South Bay COG would utilize our Measure M funds to repay Metro with interest for Metro's advancing the funds to meet the ITC's cash flow needs. There are no actual funding plans available right now. We need to know the cash flow of the project and the annual allocations that the COG from the COG's funding from Metro for Measure M funds. And that is not known now, but scenarios that we've seen and that you've seen have shown that repayment with interest could extend to at least 2057. The Board of Directors met on the 21st of October, which was Monday, and they formally recommended that the staff formally recommended that the Board of Directors oppose, and I would like to tell you the reasons why. And you saw some of this before, sort of an amplification. The exceptions to the existing policy. First exception is we have a policy that we've had since 2020 that no project should exceed $250 million of measure funds. This project has already exceeded it because we gave our sub-regional equity fund to the project, and that did not fall under the cap. And that's how the first allocation was $358 million. We also took the sub-regional equity funds came from something that had already been allocated, which was the Inglewood Sentinel grade separation. So we moved that over. So the local match, also we talked about the local match policy. You asked us to explain the local match policy, and we included this chart on page 2 because we have a very complicated local match policy. You can see that we pay the local match is paid in increments, and that's why it's hard to just explain that what a project of this size would be paying. But you can see that David has put down the increment here. I'll go on to the next equitable distribution of funds in the South Bay with Measure R and Measure M funds. We mentioned this last time, but the South Bay has already approved $71.7 million in other Measure R and Measure M MSP funds for non-ITC projects in the city of Inglewood. Therefore, the city of Inglewood has currently received 34.87% of all of the Measure R and M funds that have been programmed by the South Bay since the beginning of our programs to September 2024. The city is definitely one of the largest in the South Bay and definitely has significant transportation needs, but it has already received twice the amount that the next recipient, which is Metro Caltrans, has received, and they have very large projects. The next highest city and our largest city is Torrance, and they've received 12.89%. If the current request is approved, the total allocation for Inglewood would be 53.48% of the funds. Although there may not be a direct impact on any one specific project proposed by a city in the future, there will be an impact on our ability to award future projects. There are not unlimited dollars. They're only available there are so many available, and regardless of any flexibility in Metro's repayment plan, the available funding will be reduced and will be making calls for projects significantly more competitive. When you take the average cost of a Measure M project allocation in the South Bay, the amount of funding being requested by Inglewood equates to approximately between 125 and 175 projects. Each board member should consider the benefit of granting this request at the expense of potentially be divided by 15 or 16, 15, 16. It's 15 to 20 pedestrian safety, active transportation, intersection improvement, traffic signal synchronization, and digital network projects that could more directly affect your constituents and take place within your own communities. The next item is the Measure M MSP process. We got into this last time, and we were talking about how we know how much money we're going to have. There's been a number that says we're going to have 3.4 million in the future over the next 30 years. But what we know at the COG is we have a 5-year rolling process. we get 5 years worth of understanding of what we're gonna get each year. And then each year we get the 5th year, the next year again. So we don't have the future projections. And this is the way Metro has done it on their administrative guidelines, and it's the way we've done it. We find out our new funding allocation for year 5, 1 year at a time, and we do not know what amount that will be beyond receiving that. Therefore, it's not right to say that we, over the next 30 years, will have $3.5 billion, when in fact, we don't really know, and we don't know if that'll be accessible to us. Inglewood has been stating that there's a minimum guarantee, that they will try to guarantee a minimum amount of funds to the COG, but we're not going to be negotiating with Inglewood. We're going to be negotiating with Metro, because they will have the funds, not Inglewood. Okay. At the special board meeting, we also got into something about whether these funds are available or not available. When you make a request of us as your cities, we program those funds. The spend rate of cities, the fact that we have money that you can go to in our bank account and say, oh, they have too much money, is your spend rate as cities. So when we program, that our programming is different than your spend rate. So even though we might have allocated the fund and we're reserving the fund, it might not be spent right away. What we have done just recently at the direction of the Transportation Committee is we've gone to all of our cities and said, are these still worthy projects? So that we don't have cities just keeping projects for things that they're never going to build. So we're constantly making sure that these are active projects. Next item, our next objection, uncertainty of the Federal Transportation Administration Award. And I think I don't need to speak about this because apparently Congressman Waters is here, but we've done a lot of research to try to figure out what's going on. And Congressman Waters, I'll just say this, removed funding from the House bill. As we understand it, the President's bill budget has that funding in it. The Senate appropriations bill right now reflects the President's budget, but it's after the November election, there will be reconciliation. And I will let Congressman Waters speak for herself. The other funding opportunities. The staff was first approached to discuss an additional funding request for the ITC in May of 2024. At that time, we suggested that they come back, but I wanted to mention that every time we talked about this, somebody had said, why aren't they asking the West Side cities, or why aren't they asking anyone else? And at the last meeting, it was said they didn't have time. This whole thing started for us in May. There's been plenty of time to go ask other organizations. The proximity of the Inglewood Entertainment District to communities on the west side is just as close as the South Bay cities. We did a mile check. And those communities stand to benefit much more, actually, because they have a better transit system. So they can access these venues they can access the rail line with their bus system more easily than we will be able to. This is a regional project, and you've been asking a long time why the rest of the region hasn't been asked to pay for it. And I know that CMAQ funds is the rest of the region, but now that's us. Support for the project. Board members have also continually asked why we're not getting financial support from the venue owners and the operators, since they will benefit from the project. Now we've learned that the reason we haven't gotten that support is because the venue owners do not support the project. Not only do they not support it, but they say it won't benefit their venues and it will hurt them. They want to access, they think they can solve the transportation problems or at least address them with shuttles. And I have one more that's not written here, and that is, this is what I was thinking about. Measure M was voted on by the voters. It was voted on for you to have transportation money for your communities to have transportation projects. To keep faith with the voters, you have to keep that money for transportation projects in your area so that you can do what the voters voted on. And with that, I would say that staff strongly recommends that you oppose this. Thank you.
Okay, Jackie. Okay, at this time, what we're going to do is we're going to take comments from the public. So I'm going to start with what I have. You'll have 3 minutes to give your information on what you. So we're going to start with Erica Baker. And can we make sure that they get microphone? Okay, Erica? Is she in the overflow room? Okay, thank you.
Sorry, this is a little cumbersome tonight. It's okay.
So, well, we did it, Benjamin. A sandwich, or a burger. Let's see what we want.
Can somebody mute their?
Y'all need to mute if you are not currently on. Thank you.
Hello. Can you hear me? Hi, my name is Erica Baker, an apprentice with the Carpenters Local 323. I live here in Gardena, California. On behalf of the Carpenters Union of Local 323, we strongly support the board to say yes on the resolution committing to $493 million for the Inglewood Transit Connector. It will create good local jobs for members like me. As an apprentice, I earn union wages, my family has full health care, and I earn a pension by working on agreements while I also attend classes. This agreement will enable me to get the working hours I need to complete my apprenticeship and become a journey member. That's a lifelong career, and I am very proud that I have chosen this path. This agreement will improve the life of local residents like myself and contribute to the local economy. As an apprentice and as a local resident representing the future of our trade, I urge you to continue funding the ITC. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, next, Chris Rosales.
You want to give another name too? Call out a couple names.
So Steve Bond would be next.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Chris Rosales. I'm a 15-year member of IBW Local 11. I currently serve as an organizer for District 6. And on behalf of Local 11, we strongly support the funding of the $493 billion for the Inglewood Transit Connector. This agreement will bring veterans, apprentices, and folks who may need a second chance in life and who are starting their career in the building trades to work on this agreement for the district. Our apprenticeship is currently training 1,500 apprentices, and they need this on-the-job experience. Our journey members are the best skilled and trained workforce in the country who have passed their rigorous apprenticeship to get their journey state card. This project is a game changer, not just for our members, but for the region. Thank
You, Steve Bond, and then next would be Jeremy Santoro.
If you could start coming up along the wall.
Yeah.
Good evening, board. My name is Steve Bond. I'm a cluster from Local 200, 29-year member. On behalf of the clusters Local 200, we strongly support the board to say yes to the resolution committing $493 million for the ICT connector. This agreement will bring veterans, apprentices, and folks who may need a second chance at life who are starting their careers in the building trades to work on this agreement for the district. Our apprenticeship is currently training 100 plus apprentices, and they need this on their job experience. Our journey members are the best skilled and trained workforce in the country who have passed the rigorous apprenticeship to get their journey cards. This project is a game changer, not just for our members, but for the region.
Okay, Jeremy, and then next is Eddie.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Santoro. I'm a business representative with the International Union of Operating Engineers. I'm a 10-year member. On behalf of Local 12, we strongly support the board to say yes on this resolution committing $493 million for the Inglewood Transit Connector. This agreement will bring veterans, apprentices, folks who may need a second chance in life who are starting their careers in the building trades to work on this agreement. Our apprenticeship is currently at 4,000 apprentices that need this on-site experience. Our journey members are the best skilled and trained workforce in the country and have passed this rigorous apprenticeship to get their journey card. This project is a game changer, not just for our members, but for the region. Thank you.
Andy Alvarez and then Jamie Farrell.
Good evening, brothers and sisters, board members, staff. Thank you for all the hard work on this tonight. My name is Eddie Alvarez, and I'm the LA Council Rep for the LAOC Building Trades. We represent all the 160,000 construction workers, union construction workers in LA and Orange County. But what I like to say, we represent every construction worker in the region to make sure they have a fair wage, good pension, and safe work conditions when they go to work, and they can come home every day. This project goes beyond any one area or one venue. With this project, we become much closer connecting the region through much needed light rail. Like many of you, I sit through many meetings trying to figure out how we're going to get light rail connected to everywhere in this county and through Orange County. And to go backwards and not fund this project puts us back where we were almost 35, 40 years ago. We need this money to connect not just Inglewood, not just the South Bay, but also connect the whole entire region. So when somebody wants to go to a ball game in Arcadia, they can get through rail. And that's what we need to do. When you go to venues across the country, San Francisco, Philadelphia, Chicago, we get through light rail. We don't drive. We go to Yankee. For those of you that are going to go to Yankee Stadium on Monday, as they lose to the Dodgers, you're going to be able to go through there. You're going to take the subway. You're going to take the subway there. You're not going to drive. At least you should. But beyond that, this is going to be built again, like every other project there in the area in Inglewood, with a strong community workforce project labor agreement. There's going to be putting local people to work, not just people from outside the region, people from Inglewood, people from Gardena, as we see the Sister Peak tonight, right? People from the South Bay, people from the Valley, within that region that we're going to that come through. So this isn't about just building connections, it's about jobs, our jobs, and your family members who work on these projects. So we want to thank you and move this vote forward. Thank you.
And Jamie Farrell.
Who's after her?
Jamie Farrell.
No, who's
Oh,
after?
we're gonna have Stephen Fisher next.
Thanks. Good evening. My name is Jamie Farrell. I'm speaking today and making public comment on behalf of Elevate Inglewood Partners. We are the best value proposer that's been selected to work with the city and the JPA and deliver this project. Our team members include Plenary Americas, the equity member and developer, Tudor Perini, who's the lead civil contractor, Parsons, who's the lead design firm, Wujin, who is our vehicle provider, and ACI, who is our lead operator. We bring together a world-class local team, and we are very excited to deliver this project for the region. We began working on this back in 2021 at the RFI stage, and we've been involved in an intensive bidding process for many years now. This included, especially over the last winter leading up to the spring, an intensive design process where we actually went through the initial design of the project and got enough of a design that our contractors could provide a firm fixed price to the city. This project will be delivered as a P3 model, which means there's significant risk transfer from the government to the private sector, and it provides the city and the funding partners, hopefully in this region, price certainty and timing certainty. We understand there's many benefits to this project. We're intimately familiar with them, having negotiated our project agreement. These benefits include labor, good union jobs, lots of job creation in the region, as well as XBD and ABE small business participation. Through my years of infrastructure development, I've seen how these benefits ripple through the region and really benefit the entire community. This project is shovel ready. We are ready to go. The city has a bid in hand that is valid, and I really encourage the entire board to make decisive action tonight, fund this project, and bring this monumental project to our region. Thank you.
And Stephen.
Hi, good evening. My name is Stephen Fisher. I'm a resident of the city of Inglewood. I was born and raised in Inglewood, also represent the community of Morningside Park. I sent most of your correspondence this morning, but I wanted to come here and put a face to that correspondence. I wanted to underscore the sentiments expressed in that correspondence, which is I have zero support, not only me, but the community and the residents in the city of Inglewood for this project. It provides no real benefit, but to the contrary, it creates a burden
to the city of Inglewood, both in terms of congestion and both in terms of the backstop payment, repayment back for that, which will be burdened to the residents of the city of Inglewood. I stand with Representative Waters. I stand with SoFi Stadium's leadership. I stand with the Intuit Dome in opposing this plan. It's short-sighted and it provides no real benefit to the true residents of the city of Inglewood. Thank you.
And we will have Congresswoman Waters.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving me a few minutes to speak with you about this project that you have placed on the agenda. I want you to know that I am adamantly opposed to this very expensive project. This is a $2 billion project with costing about $1.2 billion per mile. It only goes a mile, 0.6, and I do believe it makes 3 stops. And it is proposed to be something that will help the people of Inglewood, but it really does not. This is a boondoggle. I want to tell you that this project will cost about $30 million per year just to keep up. And so why is it that the owners of the major projects that are cited to be able to benefit from are all against it? They don't want it. They say that the traffic congestion, which is terrible now, will be impossible to navigate. 40 businesses will have to close down. And they talk about creating 17,000 jobs. These 40 businesses are already hiring people. They'll have to fire them, get rid of them because of this project. There is no need for this project in the city of Inglewood. As a matter of fact, let me just tell you how impressed I am about the presentation that was made about digital here tonight. This country is moving to digital. In the Congress of the United States of America, I am looking at the stablecoin bill, and we will have cryptocurrency as one of the major issues. We've got to get educated, informed on digital and crypto and all of that. They have 5 schools that are closing in Inglewood. Why can't we concentrate on that and make sure that the education is done for the children in Inglewood so that they don't have to suffer in the way that children suffer who are not educated? I would ask this council to not vote for this bill, support for this bill. I tell you, they are trying everything that they could possibly try. They have created a special district working with the county where they're going to go out and get a big bond that has to be paid back. Who's going to pay back the money? The citizens of Inglewood will have to pay back the money to the bond holders? This is impossible. And I just want you to know that yes, in the Congress of the United States, I oppose this bill, this project continuing to move. As a matter of fact, I stripped it out of the recommendations for the transportation project. And of course, I know that Mr. Butts is talking about working with the Senate to keep the project in. So the fight is on. I'm not giving up. I do not intend to see this project move any further. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I have a couple more. So I think I have a Yolanda Danson. Okay. And then I have Gerard McCallum after that, and then Amy Forbes last.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Yolanda Davidson. I too am a resident of Morningside Park. I am a lifelong resident of Inglewood. I've been there for 50 years. I am also opposed to the Inglewood Transit Connector. I do respect the mayor and his idea of making a change and trying to help with traffic, but being a person who's been living under constant construction for the last 9 years, it's just not something that's feasible. We have so many issues going on in Inglewood. Representative Waters just told you about our 5 schools closing. Our school district owes $29 to $39 million. If we can raise $439 million, why can't we save our 5 schools? Why can't we save our children? A 1.6 mile train to nowhere is not something that our city needs. No one in the city really is gonna take it. I worked on the K line. Very few people are taking the K line. It costs over $2 billion. The most people I've ever seen on is 20 people. Who's gonna ride a transit connector when nobody's here? We have a game today. Maybe people might ride on Thursday once or twice a season, but it just doesn't make any sense. And so I would ask you not to fund this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Joy.
Good afternoon. My name is Gerard McCallum. I represent SoFi Stadium, Intuit Dome, U2 Theater, Hollywood Park, pretty much the Forum, pretty much every major development along this line that this is supposed to service. And we have great respect for Mayor Bucks. I mean, without him, we couldn't have gotten any of these projects done. But this is one of those projects where we just don't agree. And we don't agree on some really fundamental observations about the project. The project has morphed over the last 5 years from a project that was going to be on the opposite side of the street, wasn't going to take a lane. Now it's taking a lane and it's taking 30 feet into the setback of our properties, including up to 70 feet of no-build zone on both properties. It threatens the future development of Hollywood Park. Hollywood Park is set out to be about $15 million in overall development. With the reduction of the lane, the traffic volume decreases, and as many of you know in transportation, it jeopardizes the future development. So what does that mean, future development of Hollywood Park? We're only about 26% developed right now. The other 70.4% is in jeopardy because of this line. Closing down Prairie for 3 years during the Olympics, during FIFA, during World Cup, during Super Bowl, during All-Stars, and all the other events that go on a constant basis will heavily impact each of these venues. And we don't still get to the Olympics by that period of time. Additionally to that, there's the property portions of it. We got notice a couple months ago about the notice to appraise. We oppose that notice to appraise and will vigorously oppose that. And we'll have to go through the eminent domain process, but we do not plan to give any land for free. Why? Because it threatens the future development, it threatens our parking, it threatens everything about these businesses. So we urge you to not vote on that. And if you don't want to vote on this or you want to consider it, we invite you to come to the site. We'll take you on a tour to show you exactly why this doesn't work for us. We are open-minded to this. These evaluations that we've made have been based on consultants. This is not an emotional decision, this is a business decision. And at the end of the day, we are urging you to not vote on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And last we have Amy.
Good evening. My name is Amy Forbes, and I'm also here representing the venues, Hollywood Park, the Forum, SoFi Stadium, Intuit Dome, and U2 Theater. And I too have the deepest respect for Mayor Butts, with whom we've collaborated for many years in making these incredible venues a reality. But our clients have reluctantly come to the decision that this project is not good for Inglewood, it's not good for their businesses. And the promise of the project is a 1.6 mile transit system that only serves patrons to the north, and it will not provide the transit relief. As George pointed out, when it was first proposed, it was going to keep existing traffic capacity the same, 7 lanes on Prairie plus an additive system. After we had gone back and forth, it was agreed to be pulled to the west side so it didn't rip up the frontage along Prairie, particularly to Hollywood Park, which had just installed all of its new infrastructure serving SoFi Stadium and the primary access to the Forum. Over time, it has creeped the other way, and now when we got the notices to appraise the property in April, it's clear that it's taking significant portions of the property. Moreover, it's going to be under construction for 36 months. It will not be done by the Olympics. During construction, the access to the venues is going to be severely constrained. So it's going to happen, if it happens, right in the middle of one of the busiest seasons that everybody has worked so hard for, the Olympics, World Cup, the All-Star Game. So, and there are 44 other businesses that are going to have to be removed or relocated. But one of the bigger reasons, and we've touched on it, is the maintenance. even assuming the construction money is found. FTA, I've heard bouncing estimates of $30 to $33 million to maintain it. Doesn't really matter whether it's 30 or 25, the money's not in hand. And the venues have already given significant public benefit packages, and they are not prepared to pay additional money to operate a system that doesn't serve their patrons. In the case of Intuit Dome, they have a robust series of shuttles that they put in place, similar to what Hollywood Bowl does. And on an experimental basis, so far, it's proving very effective at getting people to take the bus to come to the venue. And if you think about what's going to happen, if you're at the Intuit Dome, you have to walk 15 minutes to a station, get onto the car, take it to the metro station, get off the metro station, and get onto the metro car to go where you want to go. And that's only for destinations to the north. It doesn't help the people to the south of the venue. And I could go on with some of the other transportation issues. Losing the lane of traffic means that the Intuit Dome and SoFi and the Forum cannot do their transportation management operations plans because they do reverse lanes. And so when they lose the 7th lane, that hurts their ability to manage traffic real time after events. And of course, during construction, the lanes are even further reduced. So the other few points I want to make are this CRD has yet to be formed. So there's a commitment being made about this climate resilience district, or a district that doesn't have a board, has never met, and they've missed their time period to do that. And there is no voluntary right of way. It is not a shovel-ready project because they haven't acquired the right of way for the line. Thank you. May I finish my remarks? Thanks. I just wanted to say, we also support jobs, and as the city has noted, SoFi Stadium created 56,730 jobs. Intuit Dome created 22,690 jobs. So our clients do support jobs, but this shouldn't be a job creation program. This is a transit program, and this is not a good transit program. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I thought maybe you could ask David about what's in the chat. I don't know.
Do you have anything in the chat there, David? That's important.
I can read them. There's also a couple folks online that have their hands raised, and I have a couple that were submitted in writing before.
Do you have a microphone, David?
I don't have one here.
Just, yeah.
I'll talk really loud. The first one is everyone that has supported the ITC, they do not live in Inglewood. Somebody was thanking Congresswoman Waters. Another thank you for Congresswoman Waters. Somebody else supported Congresswoman Waters as a lifelong resident, totally disagree with this project. Inglewood residents don't approve. This person has their hand raised, so I will let them speak. And that was it in the chat. Let me read these two written ones for you all real quick. From Melissa Barlow. Hello, COG Board. I'm writing in to express my opposition to any further allocation of funds for the ICC project. As a resident and homeowner in the city of Inglewood, I do not wish to have this debt burden for our city and for us as taxpayers. I am strongly opposed to this allocation and methodology. And then another letter from Lydia Kennard, who is with KDJ Construction Consulting. I'm the president and CEO of KDJ Consulting, founded in 1980. KDJ provides program and construction management services to public and private clients throughout California and the Western United States. Also, as a former CEO of LA World Airports, I'm a strong proponent of all forms of public transportation. That is why I'm writing in support of the Inglewood Transit Connector program. The ITC's ridership projections, cost effectiveness, and its proposed elevated path through the city have been vetted by this governing body, the South Bay City Council of Governments, the California State Transportation Agency, and the Federal Transit Administration. The ITC project, among other things, will reduce traffic, boost the local and South Bay region's economy, and create well-paying jobs. Los Angeles County Economic Development Corporation estimates that the project will support 17,000 jobs, including 5,000 permanent jobs. The project's electrically powered automated transit system will provide a direct connection between the South Bay, Greater Los Angeles region, and the Los Angeles Sports and Entertainment District. The ITC reduces greenhouse gas emissions to help improve regional air quality. I've closely observed how hard City of Inglewood, Mayor Butts, and his professional team have worked to forge a binding partnership with Metro and secured over $1.5 billion in funding to bring the project very close to fruition. It would be a significant loss to the region if the project is halted because of a short funding gap. I strongly urge you to adopt the Transportation Committee's recommendation and approve the City of Inglewood's proposal.
There was there one person that was speaking online?
Do you have somebody that raised their hand?
Yeah, I'm gonna just call folks that are online. Please unmute when I call your name, and you'll have 3 minutes. Liliana Trejo.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Liliana Trejo. I'm an Inglewood resident, born and raised here, and I'm urging the council to vote no to this request. While I am a strong supporter of public transportation, I strongly am opposed to the Inglewood Transit Connector. I believe this project is way too costly and frankly, find it absurd that it is primarily funded by federal money. Meanwhile, the main beneficiaries, the stadiums, haven't contributed a single cent, and now they themselves apparently don't support this project. And I stand with my representative, Maxine Waters, and thank her for opposing this project. I believe there are other solutions to connect folks from the K-Line station to the venues that would be a fraction of what the ITC project costs. I support transferring Measure M funds to be used to fund transit, but I urge the South Bay City's Council of Governments to reconsider providing this funding to the ITC project as it currently stands. I hope that alternative solutions are considered so that Inglewood businesses do not get displaced and residents won't have to contribute to this overpriced project with our taxpayer money. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Matt Horton.
Hi, everyone. Matt Horton. I'm a Vice President of Policy and Research at LAEDC. And our report was just mentioned in terms of some of the potential impacts related to jobs. And I think our report serves as a bit of expert witness to some of the pending economic impacts and benefits to Inglewood and the continued growth of the region. You know, up above and beyond the jobs, we're looking to generate about almost $1.5 billion in labor income. There's total economic output and value of almost $3.5 billion for the county. Operation phases that this project will support, we forecasted in the range of 500 permanent jobs, generate about 70 million in annual income or revenue from this project. Ridership benefits that will support almost over 6,500 jobs, will generate almost 600 million in annual economic output. Among the obvious environmental benefits in terms of carbon reduction and vehicle miles traveled, local air quality, transportation mobility benefits as well. I submitted some of these summaries from our report for documentation into the record, and LAEDC is happy to engage with any questions or you know, after this as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, Christina Renee.
Ms. Renee?
Christina, we'll come back to you. Brianna?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Christina Renee, and I am a lifelong resident of Inglewood. I'm also the controller at Inglewood Park Cemetery. And I just wanted to share that I firmly oppose this project for a number of reasons. But I'll just repeat what Congressman Waters said. And it's also not a job project, it's supposed to be a transportation project. There's just way too many cons. And as a resident of Inglewood, I oppose. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brianna?
Hello, my name is Brianna Eakin. I am a co-lead with South Bay Forward, which is a grassroots organization in the South Bay working to move the region forward on housing, transit, and active mobility. We wanted to touch on a few points with regards to this request for funding on the ITC project. We feel that it is a critical conversation to have regarding, how the South Bay is spending its funding from Measure M, and particularly the highway funding. In general, we do support the principle of placing more funding into transit and shifting modes from cars onto transit systems, bus lanes and bike lanes and all that sort of thing. We want to speak to, with regards to this project, to recommend that the ITC project components and the city of Inglewood explore the following near-term improvements or alternatives for the project, such as bus shuttles, bus lanes in the city of Inglewood, such as on the streets of Lenox, Prairie, Manchester, and Century, as well as protected bike lanes that would connect between the C and the K line stations to the Inglewood stadiums. We think that robust bus and bike lanes in this corridor will serve the community, will improve connections to the stadiums, reduce traffic, and serve Metro riders. I just want to add that there was an addition to the Transit Committee motion that mentions the K-line extension to Torrance and possibly that project not moving forward. We don't support that addition. We feel that these are very different projects with different riders and different purposes. One is an extension of an existing Metro Light Rail to serve multiple South Bay cities. The other is a people mover with a very fixed purpose. So we don't want there to be any incentive to potentially cancel the K-line or C-line extension to Torrance. That is an important project to our group. And so in general, just wanted to put in a strong pitch for greater regional planning of transportation in the South Bay. We have a number of project ideas that we want to support and would like to see Measure M funds go towards, such as bike lanes, such as bus lanes. And we hope to outreach to you all more about that. Thank you for including the input of advocates in that process.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, Catherine.
Catherine?
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Ms. Pope, and I'm a resident of Inglewood, a longtime resident, born and raised in the Los Angeles area, and I am for the connecting project. And the reason why is because I'm somewhat familiar of transportation. This project has been started 4 years ago, and we're at like halfway, more than halfway finished. It is important to move people that are coming into Inglewood from wherever, whether they're coming from Europe, where they're coming from the United States, all cities. This is needed. I don't know how many of you remember the people movers from years back when you could go from Watts to the Union Station, from the Union Station to Pasadena, all over Los Angeles, people movers. This is what's needed. And I am very happy that Ms. Waters is there because there's misinformation, okay, that's been put out. This money is federal money. It's not Inglewood money. But she wants to divert funds to whatever project she is now privy to. And this is just wrong. It's wrong. She doesn't care about Inglewood residents. She doesn't care about California residents. So I highly, highly approve this project. Thank you, and God bless you.
Moving on.
Any other, I don't see any other hands raised in.
Thank you, David. So we're gonna close.
Sorry, one more.
Good evening. We do have one more. I couldn't
Yeah.
raise my hand. Is it
Me
possible I
too.
could speak?
I see Trina, and then I don't see the other one, but go ahead and.
My name is Steve Cotton from the Inglewood Clothing Store.
Okay, go ahead, Steve, and then we'll come to you next, Trina.
Thank you kindly. Hi, everyone. Good evening. I just left the Rams game so I could be part of this meeting tonight. And I just wanted to take a moment to say that I'm in support of the Inglewood Transit, and we are looking forward to bringing more people to our city. A lot of people are combating this because they don't want to see change, but change is inevitable. We need to think towards the future, towards the Olympics. It's already crowded over here with the stadium and Intuit Dome and SoFi. We need to think towards the future, towards 4 years from now. It's going to be more crowded and more people. I own a souvenir shop, and my goal is to bring more people to the city. And I believe that they have thought this out and planned it out, and we need to bring more people to our city. So I'm not going to hold you up tonight. I took a moment to leave the Rams game just to say hi to everyone. And please stop by our souvenir shop when you have a moment. Thank you kindly.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, next up will be Trina, and then last one, it looks like Eli Littman.
Okay, good evening. I'm Trina Lawson. I am an Inglewood homeowner and business owner, and I am in full total support of this project. The new venues are fantastic. There's been so much growth in Inglewood, but it also brought the traffic. So this project will ease that challenge. It brings opportunities for local businesses to benefit from all the visitors, and just getting people to where they need to go with a lot less headache and stress. So I'm asking you to please support this project. As I said, Inglewood is growing, and we want to attract more visitors and support businesses, but also help residents. You know, the residents need to get that ease of getting around to where they need to go and not just be so bombarded by traffic. So I'm, again, in support of the ITC project 100%.
Thank you.
Yes. Hi, this is Eli Littman. I'm the executive director for Move LA. We are the coalition building organization that helped to pass Measures R and Measures M. And the way that we wrote these measures was so that COGs like yourself would be able to make local decisions on how the money is spent. There's two things that we really appreciate with this proposal. One is that you're focusing on high quality public transportation, which we desperately need here, particularly to a place where there are a lot of people who are traveling not only just to watch the games, but we really have to think about the people who are working in and around the region, right? The people who need to get to their job on time. And this is going to provide for them a high quality way to get to their job. And these are good jobs. And so we think that's really important. And so we like the way that you are reallocating funding towards public transportation purposes. Second thing is we believe that we want to see a connection to SoFi Stadium that allows you to get all the way from LAX to downtown Los Angeles and out to the San Fernando Valley on a 22-mile festival trail, as we like to call it, so that people can get around the region without getting in a car. And this will provide us that opportunity. And we think that that's exciting and something that can get done for our upcoming mega events. So we are here in strong support of it. We love to see all the workers who are in strong support of it and all the jobs that are going to be created in the local economy, local region, because of local hire requirements and the project labor agreement. And so thank you so much. And we encourage an aye vote.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to now close public comment and move forward. Jackie. Okay, so we'll open it up for the board for comment. You're part of the board.
Okay. So I'm gonna take half a minute. I really didn't intend to talk very much. You have a microphone? Hello.
Yep.
All right. So I didn't intend to talk that much, but I'm gonna have to. So, few facts. The project has not changed. period. Prairie will not be closed, period. There will be rolling closure of some lanes during construction, period. By the time the levees comes around, whether or not the train is operational, construction will have been completed. We'll be doing testing of the equipment, but there will be no closure. We have an agreement with the LA 28 organizing committee that there will be no closure of Prairie. Now, let's talk about the venues, who I love dearly. Amy and Gerard came up and talked. They have been dear friends of mine for the last 12 years. When Madison Square Garden was suing to stop the Clippers from coming, boy, were we tight. Very tight. What I want to get across is, and I still love them dearly as people, but quite frankly, since me coming, they have been fully employed for 12 years for great projects, and we have worked together. Now, right now, as of the end of August, got 2 letters that said we don't agree with the project. I have a book here with 200 letters of support, 200 letters of support to the California state agencies, to the federal government, to the county, since 2020, supporting the project. So what does that mean? That means letters don't really mean that much. And as much as I appreciate public input, we're a representative democracy. What does that mean? It means we elect people to take everything and weigh everything and to make decisions that they feel are the best. Now, I would tell you that I got letters opposing SoFi being built, letters opposing Intuit being built, YouTube Theater being built, the Forum being remodeled. We spent $18 million, our last $18 million redevelopment money, to add to $100 million of Madison Square Garden's money to reopen the Forum. There are people that don't like that, but you know what? What I'm supposed to do, what the council's supposed to do, we're supposed to do what's best for the city in the long run. Now, let's talk about letters, okay? Love you to death, Jackie, but your presentation has evolved every time it seems like there's support. It just appears that way to me. I'm only going to read one letter of support for the project, okay, just one. Mr. David S. Kim, Secretary, California State Transportation Agency, support for the Inglewood Transit Connector project. Dear Secretary Kim, I write to express my strong support for the City of Inglewood's grant application to the Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program for the proposed Inglewood Transit Connector project. The ITC project will provide my constituents and visitors in the region a world-class connection from the Crenshaw Metro LAX line to the city's growing entertainment and employment center. This innovative project will improve access to the City of Inglewood with a thoughtful, well-planned transportation system that protects the environment, revitalizes the local and regional economy, and prioritizes the health and well-being of the community. The proposed ITC project is an elevated, automated people mover system that would connect residents, visitors, sports fans, and employees directly from the Metro Crenshaw LAX line to the city's major activity centers, including downtown Inglewood, the Forum, the Los Angeles Stadium and Entertainment District, and the future home of the LA Rams and LA Chargers, as well as the proposed Inglewood Basketball and Entertainment Center, which is now known as Intuit, the future home of the LA Clippers. The proposed transit service would provide a convenient and efficient transportation option for the public to enjoy when traveling to and from Inglewood, and it will complete the first last mile connection from the larger countywide metro rail system to the city's emerging entertainment, retail, and residential areas. As the City of Inglewood continues its historic transformation into a world-class sports and entertainment destination, the proposed ITC project will play a key role in the city's revitalization efforts. With an estimated transit ridership of over 3 million annual passengers, the ITC project will be the backbone of the city's overall traffic management plan, and it will help reduce the number of vehicular trips traveling to and from the city. On behalf of my constituents, many of whom live and work in the city of Inglewood, I strongly support the city's application to the California State Transportation Agency's TIRCP program, and I urge you to move forward with funding for the ITC project. Thank you for your consideration of the City of Inglewood's application. Sincerely, Maxine Waters, Member of Congress.
When was that one dated?
It's dated January 7th, 2020. All right? Now, I only read that to say that when we set out for this project, we had to do a lot of planning, a lot of work. We had support. That we had to contact so many agencies to develop belief in this project. You don't get a commitment of $2 billion for a 9 square mile city if there are not a lot of people that believe in it. Now, closing now. We worked with the venue for 3 years. For years, at least 3 to 4 years. And the fact that there's a difference now, that means they have made decisions that they feel that there's some problem with this as it relates to their business interests. And that is their right. And I'm an MBA, and I support them making decisions based on business. So there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with that. I've heard people talk about the schools in Inglewood. Inglewood had 17,000 students when I took office in 2011. The city and the school district are 2 separate governmental entities. The enrollment has dropped to a little less than 7,000 now. The city failed, the district, say it again, the district failed to downsize their plant and employee base. And then we came to where we are now, where Dr. Morris, who is an administrator for the county, has to close school districts. That has nothing to do with transportation-related funding for this ITC. Now, I want to really express my sincere appreciation for all your support over the years to help this project advance. We wouldn't have gotten to be here without the collective support of the COG. We do have a project that's shovel ready, a bidder ready to go, and a project that will reduce traffic on our local roads and highways and deliver real economic return for our region, creating thousands of jobs, direct and indirect, to the South Bay. But I'm here to tell you, as your Metro Board representative, that I've always fought for the entire South Bay, and I'm doing so now, to look out for our collective needs. I've supported and advocated with other South Bay jurisdictions for the COG call for projects for highway, transit, and active transportation priorities adopted by the COG and Metro boards. Jackie mentioned the South Bay fiber optic network. I convinced the CEO at the time to allow us to use transportation funds to create and implement the South Bay local travel network, and it was supported by Director Hahn, because we felt that a South Bay fiber optic network would allow people to telecommute and take cars off the roadway. And the board approved that. And that's what our mission is, together, to lift all the boats in the South Bay. This project will increase transit ridership on the metro system as a whole. And we know that. Why do we know that? For a 12-day period in August, there were 9 concerts, 6 by Taylor Swift, 3 by Beyonce. During that 12-day period, ridership on the K line increased by 35%. And what does that tell you? But people have a reason to use mass transit, they will use it. We believe that this first last mile connector, which will connect to the K line at Florence and Market Street, over Manchester, over Prairie, with stops at the venues, will make transit options no longer just an esoteric thing that's good for people that don't have cars, but something that's good for me. Because one thing that people spend on, even during COVID, they spend on their entertainment. they always spend on entertainment. We heard from the LA Economic Development Corporation here today. These projects that we have built in Inglewood over the last 10 years have provided 97,700 workers jobs and been associated with $7.1 billion in wages and benefits, and a total economic output when you count the circulation value of money, because people don't just keep it in their pocket, of $15.6 billion. We are proud that the development in Inglewood has catalyzed economic growth in the South Bay, and our event venues have supported the local tourism and hospitality businesses in the region. Our venues have played a major role in dropping the unemployment rate from 17.5% when I took office to 5% or less now. We love them for that. So we're gonna put it just simple. I ask that you help us make history today. Show the federal government that we as a region know how to work together and come together for projects, and they were worthy of their investment. And it'll send a message for all projects that we embark upon to come. I know many of you have been wanting to find a way to support us, but you are also appropriately worried about how much we are asking for, and if that ask will allow other cities to advance your own programs. Now, I forget who said it, but there's liars, damn liars, and statisticians, okay? So let me teach them. I got numbers too. You've heard numbers, and everybody presents their numbers as if they're the be-all, end-all. I'm gonna tell you for a fact. The numbers you heard are not the be-all, end-all. And we're gonna do a brief presentation, if you'll indulge us. And we also have Metro here today, and they have insight into the monies from Measure N and how we've allocated them, how much we've spent. That's important to know, because the most important thing for, excuse me? Okay, and so we have the CFO from Metro online, and she's going to give us a brief breakdown on the most important thing actually here, I think, for everybody is there enough money to fund this ask, and will there be money available each and every year to fund other projects in the South Bay? And I'm going to tell you that answer is yes. So I appreciate your support tonight. Let's make history together. We're going to have a brief presentation, and then we're going to have the CFO from Metro talk about what's really most important, how much money is really available. All right, Lisa?
So I'm actually, you guys all seen the slides before. I know you have.
So I think before you do that though, I'd rather have our board ask questions.
I just want to just say there's only one piece of paper that was handed out. As Mayor said, that we would never put forward a proposal that would do anything that would put other cities in a place where they couldn't advance their program. And so what we really wanted to stress and try to make it as clear as possible, because there's been a lot of confusion, is just to explain, and we have a chart on the back of how much money is available here from Measure M, looking at 2028, not even looking at 2027 to 2057. That's about $3.3 billion. And if we were able to reserve funds, just looking at historical programming, 50 million, let's grow that to 55 million. Look at the 10% off the top for annual allocation, and understand that there's a lot of money still remaining, so that we're able to capture the $1 billion in federal funds. That is the request before you. We really have tried to do everything sensitively with all the other metro priorities, with all of the South Bay City priorities, and do it in a way that allows us to capture the moment that we're in with FTA. And I will say that we did speak today, some of us did, and I know Chris Pimentel was on the line, did speak with Kome and Hife from SCAG. And there's nothing about a vote of yes today that would preclude us in any way, shape, or form from going after another grant with it, and that's coming out. That's the CMAQ. And those CMAQ funds
are available for federalized projects that are shovel ready. And when the Southern California Association of Governments do not actually have those programs ready, they are ending up giving money back to the other regions or back to the federal government. And they recognize that we qualify, we are eligible, and we would be able to achieve those dollars. They didn't promise, obviously, we have to go through our competitive process. We're out of sequence, but there's nothing about your vote today to support that would preclude us from doing that, and we are committed and are willing and able and ready to do that.
I just want to say to the board that we are not, I know they have the chief financial officer here. The chief financial officer has never talked directly to the COG. Jome Ajise is making phone calls. He has never called the COG to say he is calling in our area about this project. So these agencies are doing this, and they're not at least informing us so that we even know they're doing this in the area. And I find that extremely offensive.
Why would it be offensive to find the truth out about what money's available? How could that possibly be offensive?
So let me ask you a question. Yeah. And I brought up my Lomita 246th Street project, right? Which is our worst street in Lomita. We're gonna go fix it, but I don't know what that 246th Street looked like 10 years, 20 years, or 30, some years down the road, right? So will Metro give us a guarantee that if we fund this project, we will get the funding, total funding, with no degradation because of our support to IPC?
I think that we should ask the CFO of Metro what the potentialities of that are. Would you like to hear it?
I guess,
Well, you asked it.
Yes, sir, I would.
Okay, then Nalini, are you on the line?
My name is Nalini and I am the CFO for Metro. I just want to talk about the measure and projections if there are any concerns about it. I think just till about fiscal year 19, we were within about 2% of the actuals to our budgeted projections. And the COVID, I think it was the projections dipped a little bit, our sales tax dipped because of the lockdown, but it came right back. So we've been really, really accurate in terms of our projections, and I'm quite confident that the projections that we have given to, I think, Mayor Butt's team, and Lisa may have them, will meet them and will be close to them. The second thing I just want to emphasize is that the repayment plan that we put together, again, I think you may have that in one of your presentations, is not mutually exclusive, that you can do ITC and not do the city projects. I think both can be accommodated, and I think our repayment plan for ITC can be adjusted if there is a need for. But the way I see it, I think we can confidently do both based on the historical percentage of programming and expenditures that is in front of us. I hope it helps.
What they want to know is that yes or no?
Sorry, yes. Okay, I'm going to just say yes.
Thank you.
Go ahead, David.
I just want to clarify that there's an entire Metro board that approves funding. So what the staff person says does not guarantee action.
It doesn't apply to the COG too? That's sort of what staff members say? Okay. All right.
The other observation is, Mary, you made reference to the region, right? And, and many of our speakers made reference to the region, right? But here we are, asking South Bay COG to fund this when I see no regional funding. I understand whether you were late to the table or whatever, but at the end of the day, it appears to me you're asking COG to fund something that should have been funded by the SCAG. Is that a fair assessment?
I don't know if it's a fair assessment or not. Here's the thing. We've been at this for a little over 4 years now, and we have gone to so many pots of money to get to the point where we had to pay. We're running out of time.
I got that.
Okay, and so when you say are we going to go after SCAG? Yes, we are.
But you're already at the table asking the COG, why weren't you at the SCAG? So let's say again, contribution benefit, right? So if the region benefits, let's say to the tune of 600 million, and the South Bay benefits to the tune of 300 million, why are you asking us to put in 851 million? It's a regional benefit for the project, right? That's what we've heard, and I don't think anybody would debate the regional benefit.
Just to answer that question.
Board deliberation. Hold a second, you want an answer? You want an answer? From the board, this is a board deliberation. It's from the board. What do you want the answer?
I want the answer is why isn't the SCAG funding this and all of the requests is coming to the project?
No, okay,
He wants
They
an
did-
answer and you don't want him to have.
I know, I'm going to give him the answer. The answer is that you would get is that they did go to, I think they went to SCAG before. SCAG is a planning agency. It wouldn't necessarily have the kind of funding all the time to fund a project like this. The CMAQ cycle comes up every so often. I don't know that they were ready for the last CMAQ cycle. The next one comes up in 2025.
And that's exactly right. And we're gonna go for it.
But if we're funding this, why would they fund it if it's already funded?
They're asserting that SCAG will have $1 billion and they will have plenty of money to fund a project like this. It would appear to me that if a project is fully funded, they would not want to backfill a fully funded project.
I don't think that's true. You say that because that's your orientation. Okay, so Mayor Pro Tem Pimentel, SCAG federal discussion. Thank you for your time today and for allowing me to explain the process for upcoming SCAG federal funding for transportation projects. As we discussed, we have another cycle coming up for the Surface Transportation Block Grant and the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Improvement Fund. SCAG is recommending a schedule for upcoming CMAQ STPG call for projects to the CTC working group, which anticipates guideline adoption at the February 2025 Regional Council meeting. The application period would open in April 2025 with County Transportation Commission prioritization due by August 2025. And awards for this call are anticipated in the November-December 2025 timeframe. I shared that we received CMAQ funding because our region does not meet the national air quality standards. Our region, unfortunately, is a severe non-attainment area for regulated emissions. We will have $1 billion in funding in our next cycle to continue STBG CMAQ. Again, while I cannot prejudge the projection selection process yet to be developed, the ITC project would seem to meet typical eligibility criteria for CMAQ funds. And specific to our discussion, I don't foresee the project being precluded from applying, but must go through the competitive process with its demonstrated readiness within the program period. We're out of the cycle for the ITC at this time and understand that project is working to lock in federal capital improvement grant funds now. We at SCAG never want to see funds given away from our region, and we're always looking for eligible projects that are shovel ready. Hope this is helpful to you, and please share as you deem fit. But please let me know if you have any questions. Come Ajasi SCAG.
Okay, it goes back to my question. If SCAG, let's say perfect world, SCAG approves $1 billion, right? And we fully funded this. Where does the $1 billion go? Does it go back to?
No, SCAG is they would not be applying for $1 billion. SCAG is a 6-county region. And so all of the counties in the region will be going for this, or this, I don't know if this is in my county pot, but I think it's all the.
If we win, we'll reduce our ask. That's it.
Yeah. They would go for about, what I understand, they would go for about 125 million.
So there'd be no.
But they're saying that if they get the 125 million from SCAG, they would reimburse us. This would be part of a future agreement.
My question. Yeah. That's all I was asking, right? Just, okay, if you get it, where's it go? To you.
I wanted to add some concerns, and I have 246 street concerns as well in Rolling Hills Estates. I'm concerned about protecting Rolling Hills Estates Measure M money when we don't even know some of the projects that we're going to be planning. Potentially a payoff schedule could go to 2057. we are in the position that we are with the ITC because between design and going to shovel ready, costs go up. Same could happen to the projects that we have going now and have programmed with COG and programs in the future that we want to use measure and money for. It's a very simplistic concern that I have. Maybe it's too simplistic, but when the COG is charged with negotiating repayment schedule, and they're telling us that they can't even be guaranteed of the Measure M money coming in every year, I'm concerned. And I'm also concerned because of all the practical reasons that have been raised. I'm very persuaded by the fact that the venues at one time did support this, excuse me, and they don't any longer. I'm also very persuaded that Congressmember Waters once supported it, and she no longer does for the reasons that she expressed. So those are all my concerns. A very simplistic overview. Those are very practical concerns that I want to express.
Other questions?
So I had to dig deep into this. Issue because Jackie, thank you for calling a council member in Redondo Beach and getting her to oppose it. So then I had to double down on my diligence on this issue. So let me just back up to the project real quick. Let me share this on Zoom, if I can. No, I can't. But in any event, let me just say that when I go to SoFi Stadium, I've historically parked in the residential neighborhood, which many other people do, and walked over a mile to get to SoFi. The last time I went, because I took my daughter and didn't want to take a big stroller all that long distance, I took the shuttle from Torrance Transit Center. 45 minutes up because it's stopping at every stoplight and going up and getting caught in traffic there, and then over an hour and 15 minutes to get out. That is no great way to get people to ride mass transit. And if I took it to if I took the metro train, then I'd still have to take a shuttle in through traffic to get to the entertainment district and a shuttle back out through traffic to get there. People are not going to start riding mass transit until we have first and last mile solutions. Right now, we're going to have a tour of the LAX stop that's opening up soon. It's going to be worthless until that people mover is working, because you're going to have to get off that platform, get into a bus, and get stuck in the same LAX traffic that you basically took an Uber. So not excited about that, but in 2026, January 2026, that people mover is going to open. Now we'll finally have one destination to go from the Redondo Beach station to somewhere efficiently, more efficiently than we do so in a car. This would be the second if it goes through. So the most important documents that we have, and I hear your concern, I'm concerned too, because Redondo Beach has some big projects. It's got a $15 million triangle parking lot that we want to build in the Riviera project using Measure M funds. So the most important documents you want to be looking at is this right here and this right here, which last week, Debbie, by the way, on Monday, Metro confirmed to us that this would be a repayment schedule that would likely be approved. And two, I asked them specifically about their confidence in these Measure M projections. And they answered, we are very confident in our Measure M projections. They've held up over time because of the diverse tax base that exists in LA County through all the industry that exists in this great county. And what we can tell when we look at the repayment schedule, the potential repayment schedule, we're talking about single-digit millions up until 2042. And here, when you look at this, potential allocations, if you just reserve $55 million and we take off $10 million for this project that Jackie's been working on, 10%, a local allocation program that ensures that every city, Rolling Hills, Lomita, the small ones that don't have a ton of staff, get Measure M money on an annual basis pursuant to some sort of proportional distribution. And an infrastructure working group is working on that. There's still plenty of money left to both service this and have more money than we even have now coming in. We've used, David answered, we used over about $50 million a year the last 5 years in the COG. We're expected to get starting $67 million up until 2027, and then $81 million and $82 million. So if you service the debt at $6 million or, $6 million, $2 million, $10 million. There's still more money than we have now for all of our projects. And so I worked on this motion. Obviously, I was here, I was on the Transportation Committee and here last Monday for this meeting. And we adopted all of the Transportation Committee's recommendations, which include a recapture of our money if they're successful in getting CMAQ funds or SCAG funds, or those are one and the same, I don't even know. And by the way, think about the other facilities in LA County. You have the Metro 7th Street station that can get you to Crypto Arena. You have Hollywood and Highland that can get you to the Hollywood Bowl. They're doing this gondola that's going to take you from Union Station to Dodger Stadium because people need first and last mile solutions. Nobody's going to take Metro. What is it called? Oh, it's just not going forward. All right. Well, the fact that
I was with you until you brought it up.
Okay, look, the fact that they even explored that, I don't know where it is, but the fact that they're pursuing that and pursued it so seriously shows that people need a solution to get them to the facility in order to ride public transportation in LA. So back to this motion that I worked on with Councilmember McCosker. It's on the back side, you see it's adopt the recommendation of the Transportation Committee. Direct the executive director to sequester no funds, because it's clear from this data that there's plenty of funds to continue doing business as usual at the COG, notwithstanding granting this money to Inglewood. Oh, actually, one other point about the local match. We're making an exception to the local match policy. At the infrastructure working group, and I got this from our public works director, they're talking about revising the local match policy, because when Little Lomita has a $25 million project, they can't come up, maybe they can, maybe they can't come up with $2.5 million to locally match and get that project done. So it's the local match requirement is becoming problematic for our smaller cities, and the public works directors on the IWG are working on revising it. So it directs the executive director to instead develop a repayment plan for board consideration in coordination with the CFO of Metro. Thirdly, direct the executive director to make no less than $55 million in Measure M funds available annually for the COG cities for application on a competitive basis. Reserve 10% for allocation in a non-competitive manner proportionally to the city. So this infrastructure working group is kind of trying to figure out what is the equitable way to distribute this 10%, taking into consideration how many eligible projects could a city possibly have for Measure M projects, and that's supposed to deal with geographic inequity that has historically resulted in smaller cities with lesser staff not getting competitive money. Direct the infrastructure working group to provide recommendations to the Transportation Subcommittee regarding the means for calculating the proportionality of Measure M funding under the local allocation program, and specifically addressing the matching requirements, developing a methodology to encourage the geographic equity in project award, and review and revise if necessary how annual project applications were scored and ranked under Measure M to make sure it's fair.
Yeah, I had a hand up before, so Chris, go ahead. Your hand up was.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. El Segundo has historically championed virtually every element of Mayor Butts' successful Inglewood revival. And that includes the decennial transfer, support for this train, support for prioritizing the ITC over the Centinela grade separation project. I do want to make clear to the room that while we believe this is a regional benefit, the burden will still fall disproportionately on the South Bay. And it became clear to me, at least as clear as it can be, on my primer I received on CMAQ funding from SCAG, that the amount of money that would be made available to competitive process of the $1 billion does not significantly reduce the burden that would be on the South Bay. I mean, they are talking, Jackie's discussion of $125 million is much larger than I had heard. And so even then, we would be providing the preponderance, or at least the plurality of the funding, depending on what the federal money could come in. Also, I think it is worth noting that the various different pieces that we would go out to raise this money will still carry a funding burden on us. And if the climate resilient district that is cited as part of the funding mechanism is not guaranteed, there's still a 218 process by which those property owners can contest that. And I don't know if there is a contingency baked into this somewhat complicated funding apparatus that allows for what happens if the climate resilient district does not go through and if it's successfully opposed by property owners. And I suspect that a significant number of them may do so. So there are concerns on that point that I don't know are fully fleshed out. I think when we prioritize the Centinela grade, or prioritize the ITC over the Centinela grade separation, part of that is we built in a series of checkpoints and gateways for this project. And a big reason that we're here tonight is, although I think a lot of us conceptually think the train is a good idea, it continues to not be successful at its various project management gateways. So I wanted to add that sort of color, history, and context about the CMAQ piece, about some of the complexities on the climate resilience district that would have to be passed by the property owners within the district, and just share some of that context, but also continue, as I've said before in the committee, El Segundo sits a little bit different in the COG in that we do directly benefit from things that happen in Inglewood in a way that may not be shared with our neighbors to the south. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Thanks very much. I too was very concerned about the impact that this might have on projects in my district in the 1-5. And I know I came here before one of the times and I spoke about the Lomita punch through. Something's really, really important to me and something I'm going to fight for. Just as Zane had said, what was compelling to me was just to look at these numbers, and that's why we worked on this motion. I have reached a point where I think it makes sense for us to push through, to keep going, because it is an important regional project. I get that, and I get that there's a heavy burden on us. But I feel like the recommendation or the motion that we're going to make tonight to adopt the recommendations of the Transportation Committee, it's not lost on us that that was the recommendation, with these additional guardrails, put us, I believe, I'm hoping, put us in a position where we are protected off into the future with the set aside of funds, the 10% and the $55 million, and an effort to make sure that there's equity through the system. And so I'm comfortable with it, and I'm going to urge an aye vote.
Are you making a motion?
Second.
I made the motion before you, so moved.
Okay, discussion? Janet?
On the motion or?
On the motion?
Well, I'm here tonight to support this project as chair of Metro Board of Directors currently, and having served alongside Mayor Butts all this time, and also having grown up in Inglewood, seeing the transformation that is absolutely miraculous, thanks to his leadership. Councilman Waters, it's good to be with you tonight. I don't usually like to be on the other side of you. It's a terrible place to be. But tonight I have to be, because listening to all the arguments and understanding everybody's individual needs. And by the way, that's what makes all these measures, starting with Prop A, which was the very first tax that my father championed. But the idea was to give local return, right? These measures are voted on by the people. Very few counties tax themselves for transportation, but we're one of those, LA County. But the idea was to give back local return. And that's certainly what I hear everyone still trying to protect. But it's clear to me that this project, asking for the $493 million from South Bay COG makes sense, because the numbers do remain stable, more than stable, for all of your projects to be built. Our CFO that was talking, she's very confident in her projections. She really has never been wrong so far. So that money will be there for you. You know, we talk a lot about those who will be taking this connector to those great destinations. Probably some of the greatest destinations in LA County are in Inglewood. But I've been riding the bus lately, unannounced, and just watching the people who ride our system. And a lot of those who will be using this connector to get to the venues aren't those with the big bucks necessarily that are paying for the tickets and sporting events. These are your essential workers. These are the workers that have been employed by these venues. These will be our labor partners who will be taking transit to build these projects. And for that reason, I think as a body that represents so many of these essential workers, I dare say every one of your cities has folks that travel to do the essential work that we all depend on. And one of the things I've realized as a Metro Board of Director, when we come together as a region and support projects, it sends a huge message to Sacramento. It sends a huge message to Washington, D.C. That gives them confidence that when they do send those federal and state dollars, they're sending it to a region that can work together and can support each other. And that makes a difference for future funding. I've seen projects go by the wayside when there's division, when there's disunity. And I think this is an opportunity for us to come together. This motion, which I know I'm supposed to be speaking on, this motion is what goes even further to guarantee that your projects, your local projects, will absolutely have the money to be funded. And I know that's one of your biggest concerns tonight. But we are Metro. You know, don't talk about Metro like it's some entity out there. We are Metro. Your county supervisors are Metro. Your regional representatives are Metro. We will be the ones who will continue to make sure local projects are funded as well, because that also builds up our region, city by city by city.
Thank you. Other comments, discussion? Justin?
Thank you, staff. Thank you, everyone who came to talk to us. Thank you, Mayor Butts. I must say, when I hear there's so much money, don't worry about the $850 million you're going to be putting into this project, I got to reach for my wallet. It is a significant concern. Mayor Butts, I appreciate that you advocate for the South Bay on the Metro Board. You are our representative, so that is exactly why we send you there. I can't support further funding for this project. The numbers are unlike any numbers I've ever seen. As a COG director, as a city council member, whatever the case may be. If we're funding $850 million of a $2.2 billion.
Everybody needs to mute.
We're funding 40% of this project with South Bay Regional Transit Fund. Even if I thought that the ITC project was the best of the alternatives in the EIR, and I don't. I think alternative 2, bus rapid transit, which is what is being planned for the Olympics, what is more flexible, cost effective, event specific, is preferable to the project. I have to say, further funds for the project is not an expenditure or an encumbrance that I can support under any circumstances of our COG funds. Particularly given the fact that, as pointed out in the memo, since Measure R, the COG has already directed over a third of our regional transit funds to one city, Inglewood. And if we were to approve this for the next 25 years, so over a half a century, 25 years, 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 25 of our regional transit funds, over half of our regional transit funds would have been directed to one city, a lot of it for one project. So I simply can't support this under any circumstance. So I can't support the motion on the table, and I can't support a substitute motion. I support the staff's recommendation that we deny the application. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Other comments? Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I didn't effectively phrase my last comment with the question piece. Is part of this funding mechanism requires a climate resiliency district to be established as a joint power authority. That requires or it can have a protest vote of the property owners. If that fails, how does this funding mechanism structured? Because that's not in the staff report, nor was it in the presentation, if that contingent part is no longer there.
Thank you, Chris. Go ahead.
Hi, folks. Karishma Shamrazani, for the folks I don't know here, I work for Supervisor Mitchell. I'm her Senior Deputy of Transportation and Infrastructure. Couldn't be with you tonight, so I am here to speak on behalf of her in support of this action. Keeping with the theme here, I know we're all very focused on funding tonight. I think there is one piece of the action that I think needs a little more uplifting, and it's that this team has created a really forward-thinking funding plan for this project. And one of the most critical pieces of that is that they're taking what traditionally is highway funding and truly reimagining what highway funding can and should be for Los Angeles County. Highways have been a disruptor of communities that ripped apart many Black and brown neighborhoods across LA County. And it is really progressive to think about what will get people out of their cars and onto transit. If you build it, they will come. And that is, I think, the momentum behind the action that we have here. Looking at highway funding, making the argument that if you can take people off the road, put them onto transit, and you provide them that opportunity, they will do that. And they'll prefer to do that in a lot of cases. So I want to really uplift that piece on funding. The second part, and I know this has been raised particularly by Supervisor Hahn here, on federal funding coming in and needing to show a united front here, as that impacts our long-term ability to keep funding in LA, specifically in the South Bay too. So wanted to lift up those two main pieces on funding. And then also to speak directly to the amendment we have here on the floor. Want to thank Councilmember Obaji for being so thoughtful in what he put together. I think it includes so many of the concerns that I know I've been hearing over the last few weeks as this body has wrestled with this decision. And I think it's a really holistic overview of the concerns that I'm hearing here tonight as well. So wanted to uplift those pieces on funding, as well as give Councilmember Obaji some real kudos for what he presented for us.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Jackie wanted to respond to you, Chris.
Councilman Mayor for Chairman Pimentel asked about the Climate Resilience District. And maybe Mayor Butts can answer, but at the last meeting, our special board meeting, it was said that if there is no Climate Resilience District, that would really, the project couldn't proceed. The Climate Resilience District, as I understand, is going to be helping with the operations and maintenance and has other responsibilities for the operations of keeping, the tax increment financing from the Climate Resilience District will be used to operate and maintain them. So,
okay. Good then.
Just a quick question. If this project doesn't move forward for any of the reasons identified, the money stays with the COG, right? Or returns back to the COG, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's it.
Me?
Okay, all right, so first of all, as a COG board member, I'm trying to approach this from a logical point of view, which based on the rules and regulations and looking at the interests of all our member cities. First of all, my city is not in competition for any transportation funds because we have no public roads. So I am not a one who's saying I'm fighting over the pot. I'm really just looking at primarily I was using my courtroom voice, but, you know.
I'm really primarily looking at it from the fact that, you know, because I have a great, what I think is a good professional relationship with Mayor Butts, particularly on law enforcement issues. We agree on power to public safety, and also with my supervisor, Janice Hahn. And so, but I have to put on my COG hat for this meeting, because that's what I've been elected to do, is to represent the COG as a member of the board. So in looking at it, you know, as I approach it in my day job, you know, I look at what the law says, what the evidence is, and I have to look at the COG rules. I mean, we have established rules which were based on COG decisions by the board, where they established rules and put into place and say, these are the rules that we think would be a fair and equitable distribution of transportation monies. And so to me, I think that should carry great weight, because we want to look at that not in a particular instance, but look at it in the broad scheme of things. And then when we get particular instances such as this, we can say, okay, how does this fit in to the existing framework and operating rules that we've already established? So to me, I'm concerned that this particular request is not asking for only one exception, but two exceptions to our established framework and rules that we have for transportation funding disbursements. So with respect to that, I think these established rules, when you have something where you're talking about a departure from these rules, you really should be talking about a supermajority of the COG members saying, we want to depart from what we decided previously should be the rules that operate and guide us for these decisions. And there have to be strong meritorious reasons to dispense with these established rules. So to me, the most important of these two rules, in my estimation, is the rule that requires a city that is requesting COG transportation funds to provide an established percentage of local match that is based on the funds that they're asking from the COG. So again, I wasn't a transportation person, had to do a deep dive into this because I've never had to look at this from my city standpoint. But if I'm going to talk and I'm going to rule, I have to study. And you all know that about me. I'm pretty tedious in that regard. Detail oriented maybe is better. So I'm concerned that you know, in hearing, because I attended the 2-hour meetings, I was concerned that it didn't appear that Inglewood was willing to provide a local match from its own funding. It's seeking funds from everyone else, and then is coming to the COG to provide all the rest of the local funding, and it's coming, you know, in the 9th hour, and when I guess this project's been going on for 4 years. So I just think it's important for Inglewood in general, in any city, to have some skin in the game. Hold on, Mayor Beth. I know I got my list here, and but you'll have a chance. So I just think it's important, because I know Inglewood is, you know, when I brought this issue up, that Inglewood is going to be spending several million a year to operate the ITC line. But then if Inglewood is not putting in its own money to construct the ITC, and is not willing to put in money for the project to be constructed, then I have some concerns, because we know now, I found out after the meeting, the Metro is not willing to operate this line. It's going to be something that's not going to be part of the Metro system, but it's going to be operated by Inglewood. So I'm assuming they're going to run it as a profitable operation. But if it doesn't end up, and because of lack of rail experience or other issues, there's a problem with the operation of that line. I'm concerned, because if no money has been invested from Inglewood in the construction, and the operations don't appear to be profitable in the future, then essentially we'll have the COG monies put in for the construction of a line that is not that Inglewood could just walk away from because it's not profitable. And I don't know that that's gonna happen, but I have to look at that as a COG board member because it's the COG monies that are going into it. And we've all seen projects that were built and then all of a sudden they became relics and people visited them as a museum or something because it wasn't, they got disbanded for whatever reason. So I'm concerned because we don't know all what the future will bring regarding metro funding, metro agreements, regarding debt repayment, future projects needed by South Bay COG cities. But essentially, I think it is a disproportionate burden on the South Bay COG for what is really a regional project that could aid LA County areas, other LA County areas more than the South Bay. And so I just don't think it's appropriate at the last minute that's been going on for us to get, like, you have to provide these funds because of a deadline when this is all the money we have for decades. And so, for with all due respect to, my colleagues too, they proposed another motion, council members McCosker and Obaji, and my supervisor is supporting that, and Mayor Betts, I assume, who's supporting it as well. I just think it's a 2-page type motion presented during our meeting. And when there's so many question marks and big ifs in my mind regarding how this project would work, and as a COG director, since my job is to protect the group interests as a whole, and particularly its financial viability, I think it is too much for us. For me, I can't support this based on all of the overload of information to figure out that this would be in the best interest of the COG. And so I'd have to vote no on that because of all those question marks. Thank you for letting me finish. And now.
Thank you. Go ahead, John.
Thank you, John Koch. I'm alternate for the city of Torrance, and I wanted to thank Mayor Butts for attending our council meeting on Tuesday night. And also thank you, Mr. McCosker and Mr. Obaji for introducing this motion tonight. I have read through the proposed motion. I'm paying special attention to item number 9, which I'll read for the record that states recommend that funding currently allocated to the Metro K line, formerly C line extension to Torrance, be reprogrammed to replace Measure M MSP funds for the ITC should the K line extension to Torrance not move forward. So I kind of have to smile because this has been a point of contention in the city of Torrance. A vote was taken by the council for myself and Transportation Committee Chair, Mr. Matucci. We're on the short end. But as a team player, though, I'm here tonight since the council took a previous position on the extension. I'm bound by that previous commitment by the council. However, I would like to also talk about the issue at hand, which is the ITC. For myself, prior to coming on to the council, I was very active in the Little Tokyo district of Los Angeles. Why that's relevant to this discussion is because for the Little Tokyo community, the regional connector was a major metro infrastructure project. That project took many years to complete. That project had serious impacts on the vitality and economic activity in Little Tokyo and also the surrounding arts district. And as a result, while it's been completed, those effects have still gone on, with many legacy businesses having gone out of business. So for those from the city of Inglewood, those residents and business people who did reach out to me and who did make those comments, I understand what that means. Also going back to the regional connector project, during that period, Metro staff's recommendation for the locally preferred alternative was an on-grade connection. It would have been underground from Bunker Hill until coming to Little Tokyo, where it would have come on grade, gone right through the heart of Little Tokyo to connect to the existing Little Tokyo Arts District station. And at that time, the community reached out to then Senator Daniel Inouye, who happened to be chair of Senate Appropriations. And Senator Inouye wrote a letter to then Metro Chair Najarian, urging him to take a look at funding to ensure that the project will be fully underground to reduce impacts on the local community. And also in this position as chair, he was able to add a bit to the FTA budget to ensure that it was fully underground. However, coming to this now and speaking on behalf of the city of Torrance, we did have a robust discussion in the council meeting, also prior to the council meeting. And we did reach we did take a vote, which was 6-1, not to support the ITC going forward. Looking at this new motion, I've been texting back my colleagues back at Torrance City Hall. They've had a chance to look at this. Their position hasn't changed. So for that reason, tonight, if I survive this meeting, we will vote not to support the ITC going forward. But once again, I do respect and appreciate all the inputs that were provided tonight, which has helped to guide our position as a city. Thank you.
Thank you. David?
I'll be brief. It's been my privilege to be a part of this board. I think I'm actually the one that goes the furthest back, having originally been appointed in 2011 and having served with former council member Franklin. I will echo what Supervisor Hahn just said about your leadership, Mayor Butts. It has been remarkable. What you and your partners have achieved in Inglewood has been extraordinary for our region. But I cannot support this, the exceptions tonight. I cannot make the findings on the alternative motion in my role as a fiduciary for the COG and as a representative of my electorate. We take a small percentage of Measure M funds, but that small portion that we get are terribly important. We presently have a sales tax measure on our ballot because we have over $200 million in anticipated infrastructure funding that we're going to need, and we don't have the revenue to pay for it. I have to be focused on my role here as a fiduciary tonight, regardless of the merits of this project, as one who supports public transit. And no, I'm a huge admirer of the portion of the must vote against the motion.
Thank you.
And I'll just be brief as well. Thank you for coming, and I know you put a lot of energy into this project, and I do thank Lisa for reaching out and giving me information. However, I do have to agree with B based on the principle that this board set policies, and so to be making an exception to them for one city, and I do understand the point made, maybe some of the policies could be relooked at, but I think it needs to go in the order of then we need to look at the policy, decide does this work or not. And so for that reason, unfortunately, I cannot support the motion.
Thank you, David. Cedric, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To all of you here, to Butts and to Congresswoman Waters and to Supervisor Hahn, as the immediate past chair of the South Bay COG and understanding that the complexities of this project, and to you, Mayor Butts, we've worked together on some projects, but I know that you have done a yeoman's job in revitalizing the city of Inglewood. In looking at all of the information that's been shared and understanding that if your ownerships of the properties seem to not want to support something that's supposed to be beneficial to them, it's kind of a hard pill to swallow. But understanding that on a global level, to look at this particular project to create a new way of moving individuals through the city and to connect Metro to certain locations. I did love that project. I was really supportive of that project. My biggest concern, and I think at the last workshop meeting that we had on Monday, many of my colleagues on the COG had issues regarding the return and having funding available for their projects within their respective cities. And I thought that the motion that Zane, that you put on the floor along with McAllister, gave that avenue of the 10% along with, I think at the time I thought about it was 50 million, but you're saying 55 million. I think that provided that safeguard. And I was hoping that that safeguard would ease the conscience of my colleagues on this COG, but I see that it did not do that as well. And I think the last caveat was the CRD. And I think I brought that up in the actual meeting on Monday. And I know that you guys said you're in the process of formalizing it. And I think that that's very crucial to making sure this project moves forward is that CRD. With that being said, I did not speak with the entire city council because of the Brown Act, but I did speak with some of the colleagues, and I won't say which one it was, but our city attorney looked at this, and their biggest concern was the return, and you have that in place based upon what I've reviewed and what I have seen. So with that, the city of Carson is still in support of the ITC.
Okay, we're gonna take a couple more questions.
Thank you very much. Actually, I was born in Inglewood, so I love that city.
You were?
I was. Sentinel Hospital. So, and I've lived in many of the locations throughout the South Bay. I think and it's not like we're giving zero or everything. Like, we've already made a major commitment to this project. And I remember that vote, it was the same discussion. And at that time, I supported that. And I told Lisa Tripolletti, who is a great person, she's an amazing resource for anyone, and she spent a lot of time giving me information that I wanted, came to my office. She's a very, very smart person, along with the Honorable Joe Toscana. She knows a little more about transportation than you.
Yes, she does.
And like I told the group, I said, I don't decide things until I hear everything. I've grappled with this even throughout, and hearing the different people that came to speak, I think it's all very compelling. And I think the project is important. I guess a couple things for me. It's too expensive. That much money for 1.5 miles is, to me, I can't get my arms around it. So that's the first thing. There's one bidder, and it just feels like it needs to be less expensive somehow. I don't know how, but it needs to be. I mean, it just, to the taxpayers and what they get from that, I don't see it. The other thing is that we all represent the South Bay. And like I said, I've lived in El Segundo, I've lived in many different places throughout the South Bay. Traffic is terrible now. It's so bad on our freeways, on our local roads. It just keeps getting worse and worse. And I think it's a wake-up call to the South Bay COG that we all need to work harder to make our transportation system better. And I don't know if it's more bikes, it's more local travel network, it's whatever it is. I don't have the answers for you, unfortunately. And I don't think any one person here does. But I think it's a real wake-up call. And I think this discussion actually helps that. And I know our leaders on Metro want to fix things. And it's hard. It's really hard. I get it. If someone had the right answer, they would have already figured that out. But I think for me, the question I asked Lisa was, how does it affect the South Bay, and how does it make traffic and transportation and things better for us? And she gave me an answer, but it wasn't enough. Like, it wasn't enough for that amount of money. And so for me, I can't support the motion. I support something. I mean, I go to SoFi and I go to these venues, and it's really important to the region. But this particular motion and that amount of money for this project, I just can't get there. So, I appreciate all the effort that I got from and all the things. And I want to see better for Inglewood, but to me, this isn't going to be it. So, sorry.
I call for the question.
Okay. All right, the question's been called. David?
Carson?
Yes.
Alcibendo?
Can you give me a minute, please?
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Sardina?
No.
Hawthorne?
I'm voting yes, because of my council members that to vote yes.
Ramos Beach? No. Inglewood?
Let me think. Yes.
Lawndale?
No.
Lomita?
No.
LA City?
Yes.
Manhattan Beach?
No.
Palos Verdes Estates?
No.
Rancho Palos Verdes?
No.
Redondo Beach?
Yes.
Rolling Hills?
No.
Rolling Hills Estates?
No.
Torrance?
No.
SB2?
Yes.
SB4?
Yes.
Alcibendo?
So I'm running through the PDF right now. All right. As amended?
Yeah.
I don't like the amendment. Sorry, I don't mean to make this a pregnant pause. No.
Thank you.
The motion does not pass.
Okay, motion did not pass. Announcements?
I have two announcements. I want to reiterate the meetings coming up on the 28th and the 30th. And just to be safe, we're going to adjourn this board meeting to the meeting of the 28th, at Monday at 9 o'clock, I think, at Redondo Beach Library. Oh, and
Andy Seawick has left for you a new Metro service brochure. He can make more available to you from your city councils, and he's back there, and you can talk to him about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everybody for coming and participating. We now stand adjourned.